We are live. Buckeyes walk it off against Notre Dame. Who would have ever doubted? 16-14 final. Chip Trainum from a yard out as the time winds down. I think Devin and I had our talking points ready, but we had to kind of switch one at the very end. Devin, I'm kind of speechless right now. I thought they had blown the game. Are you feeling that way, or did you see this coming? I thought they had blown the game.
I was getting ready to declare Lou Holtz a prophet. That was my bullet point. That was going to be my lead. That was going to be my rant and ramble. He may still have some insights, but it's going to be much more fun to examine his thoughts in this game, given the new outcome that Ohio State just pulled that out quite literally at the very last play of the game. So that's my knee-jerk as knee-jerk reaction gets after that ball game.
I mean, there's things we want to talk about and rant about, but I feel like we don't want to kill the mood here. This was our plan here, was a short yardage offense, defense kind of withering in the moment, and Lou Holtz, kind of being a prophet, which he may or may not still be. But what about Kyle McCord down the stretch there? I mean, not perfect, of course, got a little bit of a break, threw one high, almost intercepted, but made some huge, the throw to Ibuka after the intentional grounding, which I thought was kind of a soft call. I think normally they normally give the quarterback that type of leeway. How about the guts there to stand in and make that throw to Ibuka, get down to the one and then get the team up and get the ball spiked?
This is one of those drives by Kyle McCord. If nothing else, it's going to be legendary in the Ohio State history. If nothing, think back to Kenny Guyton against Purdue, but that much more amplified because it was Notre Dame. You're down, nothing had been working right. You blew the lead, and here he comes and takes him down the field for a walk-off touchdown. So if for nothing else, Kyle McCord with this drive just went ahead and, etched his name in stone in the Ohio State history for a legendary comeback win, quite literally in the last second of the ball game.
Are they reviewing this? Like 5 minutes after the fact?
Y'all are going to tell me what's going on. I got TV in the background.
I left the Shed, can we get Garrett in here, please?
1 second left on the call.
Confirmed. They just confirmed it. Touchdown.
Oh, but there's 1 second left. So there's going to be a kickoff, it looks like.
So you're now seeing a live in-game stream here at Buckeye Huddle. I
mean, like the celebration was going. That was the most delayed review I think I've ever seen in my life.
You are now seeing.
Still in review. We were talking. The confetti was going. No, but just what a bizarre thing there. So it looks like we got a second left, and this has turned into a live watch party.
Yeah, welcome to our Buckeye Huddle live watch party. I'm Devin Ratcliffe, and this is Mark Givler, and you're going to see our instant reactions, as instant as they come.
So we're following along with you guys right now.
So guys, just so you know, on the fourth and one, or on the last play there on the touchdown run by Trainum, Notre Dame had 6 guys on the right side of the formation and 2 on the left side. So they ran to the left side where it's 3-on-2, and you'd like Chip Trainum to get the 1 yard for the touchdown. But it's they just kicked the extra point to make it 17-16. And they'll kick off. But it's a huge kind of miscue there that Notre Dame overloads the right side of the formation, and Ohio State runs it back to the left.
the folks who like to partake in Vegas, I think we're just taking on a roller coaster ride. If you had a certain bet,
Our friends in the desert.
that line was 3 at kickoff.
So if
And for most of the week.
do we have a ball game yet? Or are we still kicking off?
Still got to kick off. Got to kick off here.
So
And really, I think about to squib or onside kick, and they kicked it right at a Notre Dame player. Actually, it just went out of bounds, so they're going to get one heave ho from the 35. I think.
Oh gosh, how perfect for this game.
Shed, hopefully you have you got your finger on the key points there for our graphics.
Instant reaction for me. I don't know about you guys, but I think it's a gutsy call to run the football when you've struggled in short yardage situations on the last play of the game. That's a gutsy play call, I think.
Yes and no, because there's only one play left. I mean, it's not like you're risking the clock running out. You can't get a pass. I mean, you've got one play. So in that sense, I don't hate it. And I think are we in the clear? Is a game?
Hartman's draft back to pass, hitch, pitch, still looking, threw it back to Hartman, and now he's wrapped up. He got rid of it. It's scooped up by Ohio State. Igbinosin got it, and that's the ball game.
But there's a flag, right?
Oh, they just threw a flag.
So now we're good. But I think probably something on Notre Dame, I would think, in that situation.
Yeah, the clock is at zeros. Hartman looks like he's taking his
helmet off.
My
producer in the other room giving me the
Marcus Freeman's got his headset off there. Yeah, it's over.
It's over. Okay, we can actually get to the McCord point without the worst announcer broadcast jinx of all time.
Welcome to the post-game show officially now. The watch party is now just ended.
Yes.
We're going into the post-game show now here at Buckeye Huddle.
So it was not 16-14. It was 17-14, and I don't do a good Brent Musburger impression, so I'm not going to try. But that extra point that ended up happening because of the review and the added second on the clock may have been more important to some than others. 17-14, Ohio State beats Notre Dame. It's essentially last play of the game. Chip Trainum a yard out. Kyle McCord was feeling the wrath of the fan base on Twitter all game. Comes through when it matters. Throws a strike to Emeka Ibuka down to the 1 yard line. They're finally able to get a push in the run game in short yardage. Guys, what does this do? Devin, I think you were talking about it before all the review replay stuff went ballistic. What does this do for, if nothing else, for Kyle McCord's confidence? What does this do for him? Throw out the first 59 minutes, whether you thought he was okay, good, bad, whatever you thought the first 59 minutes. What does that last drive do for him?
If nothing else, it proves he can do it. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate pressure scenario that you could put a young, I can't call him young necessarily, but a first year starting quarterback in, and he delivered. That's all there is to it. He took him down the field and delivered. He made plays when, 3rd and 19, and, he just came off a catastrophic penalty. It was catastrophic penalty. I mean, it is what it is. You're not debate it whether it should have been or not. Point is, it was still 3rd and 19, and he delivered a strike and got him back down second one on the 1 yard line. And like I was saying in our live watch party show, if nothing else, big picture, he just etched his name in Ohio State history books for one of those legendary comeback wins. Kind of like the Kenny Guyton, I mentioned that Purdue, if nothing else. He's in the history books for that game-winning drive at Notre Dame on the road. Prime time, everything stacked against him.
Garrett, just your thoughts watching that. You got a better look at maybe the last few seconds than we did. I'm trying to get ready for this, program here, and got the TV in the other room, so I don't, so I can focus on getting ready. And sure enough, the replay comes out there at the end, and it sounded like they were checking the clock more than they were checking if he was in. Is that right? Or was it close on both?
Yeah, I think it was pretty immediate that, yes, it was a touchdown. And just to be 100% Ryan Day in the post-game interview with NBC was just as fired up as I have ever seen Ryan Day. He was pointing, he was shouting, he was yelling in the post, and we'll see it when we get off. He was as animated, as excited. Apparently, took a shot at Lou Holtz, but he was pointing, he was jacked up as he should be. That's a big win. The first 2 passes on the drive from Kyle McCord were horrendous. Were flat out bad. That pass to Travion Henderson out the backfield was as bad as a throw as you can make in that situation. And to come back and fire the pigskin down to the 1 yard line in pretty tight coverage, you're right that going back to our 3 and outs, that the whole thing is somewhat flipped because there are things to work on, clearly and obviously, but the number 1 bullet point at the top of that list was short yardage failures. And ultimately, the game is won on a short yardage success for Ohio State.
Yeah, that's kind of the ironic thing. The only thing would have been more ironic after my just kind of half meltdown on Twitter tonight about not quarterback sneaking would be if they just run McCord in there at the very end, or if he had been stuffed. Oh my gosh, and I would have really hurt it. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that maybe gives the offensive line some confidence. But I mean, McCord he had a couple of misfires, of course, in that situation. But I mean, he's never been in a situation like that. And the throw to Fleming, which Fleming was open, but you got to put it on him, and you have to put that on him in stride. If you make him slow down on that ball, he gets tackled short of the marker. There were 3. The throw to Marv was on. I mean, there were 3 or 4 throws on that drive that had to be put at a certain spot where it wasn't going to be a successful play. And those were, I mean, just massive throws. I have to believe this is going to pay dividends in 2 months, 60 some days, whatever it is in Ann Arbor. I have to imagine that drive is going to pay some dividends for them down the road, just with Kyle and these guys. But have we done enough positive? Can we rant a little bit yet? Do you think that's fair at this point? Can we do the rants? Devin, you're the defensive guy. I'll let you start. Why was I this close to coming on a show that they were going to lose a game 14-10 and I was going to be more angry at the defense than the offense? Why would that have been?
Well, I think we saw a culmination of some things I mentioned earlier this year. If you follow me on the platform formerly known as Twitter, on the Buckeye Huddle message boards, and on our post-game shows before, some of the things I've been wanting to watch early on in the season are, the biggest one is the lack of pressure from the front 4 and the lack of consistent pressure, and not just, 1st and 10. I'm talking when it's 3rd and, it's passing, you have opportunity to go get quarterback. They have not been able to do it. And that nearly cost them the ball game tonight, not being able to get pressure on Hartman. Hartman's jersey may not even need washed. I mean, they may be able to hang it right back up after this ball game tonight. 2, the run game second half. Yeah, they held Notre Dame 50 yards in the first half, but they went, Notre Dame, it was painfully obvious that whatever they were seeing on the sidelines, up in the coaching booth, whatnot, the halftime adjustment was, hey, we can mash Ohio State up front. And they did. You've got to give Notre Dame credit because they dang near won the ball game, all but had the game wrapped up on mashing Ohio State in the run game in the second half for, I don't know the stat line off the top of my head, but it seemed like about 400 yards, 4 yards at a pop in the second half. And they just absolutely mashed them. Another thing I was watching and started out last year and beginning of this year as well is, and I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit, is how the linebackers fit the run. They're so aggressive, which sounds like a good thing on the surface, that they misfit a lot. When they hit it, it's a big tackle for loss. When they miss it, they leave a lot of creases. And the Notre Dame backs tonight, to give credit where credit is due, offensive line's getting a push. You got Ohio State linebackers coming in with full head of steam to try and create a big tackle for loss. Well, they hit the seam. Those running backs for Notre Dame were hitting them and gashing Ohio State, and that again, as we're sitting here talking, that was going to be my number one, rant and ramble in this show. And obviously, you're getting ready to go full tilt meltdown mode on them. Like you said, they're going to lose game 14-10, and it's the defense's fault. Well, there's a culmination of, hey, this defensive line isn't really generating pressure. They're okay against the run. It's probably lesser opponents. This is kind of looks – we do have some hangovers from last year in the Michigan game. What's going on here? well, it basically, for all intents and purposes, cost them, at least a 10-point lead and almost the ball game here tonight out of South Bend.
And I'm throwing this out there for whoever wants to take this, or no one, maybe just people watching can. Why the hell will they not run a quarterback sneak?
I think
if they run 2 quarterback sneaks tonight, they've got 14 more points.
I think the worry is does something happen to Kyle McCord, and you don't want to have to then be forced to go to Devin Brown. I think that's the legitimate, and part of that I think is you have Chip Trainum and Mayan Williams, 2 backs who should, in a situation in 4th and 1, frankly, on 4th and 1, Emeka Egbuka shouldn't be near the top of the list.
You didn't give them the ball, though. You didn't give Chip the ball on either of those 4th and 1s. I mean,
agreed. I don't know if you guys saw the way Clemson is now operating on 4th and shorts or goal line situations where they just motion a wing behind the quarterback, snap it, and shove straight ahead. You can't afford not to do that. I don't think. Like, you're guaranteed to get that yard. You're 98% chance to get that yard, and they haven't done that yet.
Even bad. Let's say you're a bad quarterback sneaking team. Let's say you're 75-80% on a quarterback sneak, which would make you a bad quarterback sneaking team. That's still your highest percentage play to get 4th and 2 feet. There is no other play on any playbook that exists anywhere in the world that is a higher percentage play for a 4th down and 2-foot conversion than the quarterback sneak, no matter how good you are at it. And if you're really good at it, it becomes not even a thought in your mind. And I said on Twitter, the Philadelphia Eagles should go around and charge every college in the country $1 million to come in around, do a spring tour, and show people how to run a quarterback sneak. You bring Caden Curry into the game as a fullback. So you've got 500 to 550 pounds behind Kyle McCord, who's 230 pounds, built like a tank. You push the pile on 3rd down, and it was a long yard. The first one, it was a long yard. I get it. It was a long yard, but it was also 3rd down.
Do it twice.
Do it twice, and you're in. There's no doubt you're in.
I don't know why you don't line up in the victory formation, but instead of running backs, you got guys wearing 98 behind you, and just we're going to shove
the perfect guy for that because he's super strong, super athletic, tough, physical kid. Get him in behind McCord, push the pile. I don't want to hear, oh, well, the line wasn't getting a push. You don't even need to get a push at that situation. You just need to not botch the snap, basically.
And
it's an unstoppable play unless the offense does something stupid, botches the snap, bobbles the snap, tries to run it outside like Sam Hartman did tonight for some reason.
I was going to say,
right into Sonny Styles.
That's the downfall is okay, if you can't shove straight ahead, take a step back and dive off to the left. Well, guess what? Sonny Styles is ready. Sonny Styles is ready for that. Like,
you don't do that. I mean, I still don't know why Hartman did that. It's not like Ohio State had blown that play up to the point that there was no other option. He could have pushed forward. I have no idea. It looked to me like it was called that way. It looked to me like it was like a fake inside.
Right.
We're never going to take our slow quarterback around the edge on 4th and short. Oh, yes, we are. Oops. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. Devin, I mean, anything there you agree with, disagree with?
The only thing I could think of as we're sitting here talking about it, Ryan Day seems to like save quarterback sneaks for the playoffs is the only thing I could think of. Because it seems like, when Justin Fields was there, it was quarterback sneak time in the playoffs. I think they ran it against Georgia with C.J. Stroud. So apparently that's a secret weapon in the college football playoffs is the quarterback sneak because he doesn't do it all season, especially in situations like this when you're like, hey, we should use our 6 foot, what's Kyle McCord, 230-pound quarterback with, King Kong and Godzilla pushing him. That's the only logical explanation I can think of. And again, it's quarterback position. Your point that Garrett, you had about getting hurt. Drop back passes when quarterbacks get hurt.
Yeah.
It's not on running the ball. I mean, knock on wood, of course, famous last words. But if you look at the statistics, it's drop back pass when they're not in position to protect themselves. Because when quarterbacks get rocked, it's typically not when they're in a position knowing they're going to have to defend themselves and get behind their shoulder pads and run, especially for it when you need a half a yard or a yard.
Everyone's mad at us. We're acting like they lost. We spent the first 15 minutes of the stream talking about how incredible that last few minutes was and everything else. But I mean, it should have never come down to that. They left 14 points on the field tonight just by not quarterback sneaking in short yardage. 14 points. And we'd all be living longer because that game, if you care an inch about Ohio State, and you watch
we'll get Coach Day out here first. We're going to get Tom. We'll get guys outside then.
They sending them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're.
I like it. Like Illinois.
So we're waiting, I guess, for Day now. Jerry Emig setting us up. I don't want to get us into another big talking point because he's going to walk out the moment we start talking about something else.
I love Jerry as much as the next guy, but I need Ryan Day here. And it's popular in the chat of whatever Ryan Day said. I had my sound off in my TV here, but he was fired up, and so I imagine he'll come in, maybe not in that mood, and maybe he will. But that's it's very reminiscent of the Penn State game a few years ago, where JT Barrett pulled a rabbit out of the hat to grab a victory in the waning moments. Because I to be frank, I texted you guys and said I'll hop on StreamYard here when Kyle McCord throws this interception and we lose. Not what happened. And I don't know that I ever foresaw that, but you talk about the confidence that Kyle McCord gets from that drive. I think he showed that he's got confidence during the drive, because those first two throws are like, it's objectively not good, but to hang in there and to make that final throw down to the 1 yard line took some stones, because it's well covered and he knows there's not a big window there, but I've got to put it in there. And it was a dot. Maybe Kyle McCord has a little bit more confidence than we think, or at least thought he did before that final drive.
I've known Kyle since he's probably 15. I mean, since he's going to his sophomore year of high school, I've known Kyle, and he is I don't know how to explain it, because you don't think about it really when you talk to him. He's not a fiery kid, but he is just stone cold, short memory, won 1 million state championships in high school. He's been in pressure situations. And it's not the same as going into South Bend, but this is not a kid that I've known now for 6 years to get discouraged over a bad play, a tough, a poor throw, a poor decision. He's certainly tough. He's one of the toughest kids I've covered from the quarterback position. He's not a super freak athlete, but he'll put his shoulder down and get those yards. We don't have to have those questions like we had the last 8 million years about running the quarterback. We don't have to do that again. He will. He's a willing runner. He's a competitor. He wants to win. And so that shouldn't have shocked me what he just did, but it kind of shocked me just the way the game was going, the way we've kind of seen things. Look, that game unfolded exactly like the Michigan and Georgia games until it didn't at the very, very, very end. We were going to have the exact same things: short yardage, play calling in the red zone, finishing drives in the red zone, defense falling apart when it matters. We were going to have all those same conversations until Kyle came in. He makes one bad throw, then he follows it up with a great throw. He makes another, the intentional grounding happens. Usually they give the quarterback the benefit of the doubt on that. I thought that was kind of weak.
Yeah.
But, you lose your timeout there. That was the worst part to me. It wasn't the yardage. It was that they lost their timeout. So on that 3rd and 19, they couldn't really use the middle of the field except for that 1 3-foot space they were able to find with the Buka there. And so that was, but he bounced. I mean, that would have been discouraging for most people. It just bounces back from that. And it's a totally different feel and narrative now. But at the same time, there are old demons that showed up tonight that it's okay, like, are these going to show up against Penn State? Are these going to show up in Ann Arbor? That I think we're going to have to talk about. But in the meantime, yeah, incredible win, awesome win. And yes, you're now in a position where essentially you can lose a conference game and still go to the playoff, because I fully believe Ohio State at this point goes 11-1, or if it's 12-1 with the Big Ten title, obviously. But if Ohio State goes 11-1 at this point, unless something really weird happens around the country, you're probably in the playoff at this point, because that means you've beaten at least one of Penn State and Michigan. You could be riding into the end of November with at least 2 top 10 wins.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But then also, one of the things that I think about having some time to digest it a little bit is how much of a difference one play can make, right? We were, and you can go through the entire game of if something goes differently here or there, as here comes Ryan Day, but the difference that one single play can make.
And we'll try and hold that thought, but here's Day.
For questions over here to the right, Austin Ward, Letterman Row.
Ryan, was this a lunch pail performance?
Yeah, it was, and it was brewing for a couple of days. Again, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. A lot of people took a lot of shots at this team over the last 48 hours, and it really hit home to me. And the way that our team played, not only did we physically get after these guys last year, but we did it again here at the end of the game. And I think it says a lot about this team. And I'm really upset and disrespected by what Lou Holtz said publicly about our team and Ohio State and Buckeye Nation. And we're not going to stand for that, because that's not even close to true. We had one bad half a couple years ago up in Ann Arbor. We did in the second half. But every game we play in, we're physical. We are. I don't know where that narrative comes from, but that ends tonight. This team right here showed toughness. They showed grit. They didn't give up, and they found a way to get that last yard. And I'm sick over those short yardages that we didn't finish, but that's the game. And the last matchup game we were one play short. This play, we finished it the right way, and I'm really proud of our team.
Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, on the previous drive, you went with the net on the end around.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? And did that factor into your decision to go chip right up the middle?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we didn't get it the one before, and I'm really upset about that. We got to get that yard. And then on that play in particular, we got the look that we wanted. We got 3 for 3 right there, and we thought that we could knife it in for 1 yard because, when they're inside playing defense, there's an opportunity to get the ball outside. We didn't do it. There was 4 opportunities where the whole game could be different if we convert in those situations. So upset about that, but I'm not going to be upset right now because that was one heck of a win for our team. It was a great win for Ohio State. It's always been Ohio against the world, and it continues to be to this day. And I hope everybody in Buckeye Nation enjoys that win, because to come in here to win like that after winning the way we did last year, because we physically got after them last year. We did. Put the film on. A lot of people make a lot of comments and don't watch film. Put the film on and watch what goes on. And for us to hang in there, because the momentum was going with Notre Dame at one point, and our guys stuck their foot in the ground, and JT makes a big-time play, and the guts of our team to go and win that game on the road. You're going to tell me this team's not physical, not tough? You're wrong.
Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
You talked earlier this week that the experience levels of these quarterbacks might be a factor in this game. You give the ball back to Kyle with 65 yards to go in 68 seconds. What did you see tonight?
Well, you judge a quarterback on third down, the red zone in 2 minutes. Third down, I was just looking at the stats, was pretty good. 10 of 17. There was some nice third down conversions there. And then to win the game in a 2-minute drill, that's what great quarterbacks do. And for his first top 10 road game to be put in that situation and come through says a lot about his future. I mean, there was some big time throws in there, hung in there. He's poised, and what a great win for our program. But yeah, for Kyle to come in that spot, that's big.
Clay Hall, WSYX.
Ryan, your biggest win at Ohio State, and how liberating is this to maybe get some stuff off your back?
Yeah, well, I'm happy for our team because, a lot of kids, people were taking shots at this team. And, when it's one play away, it really hurts. But we just finished it with one play right there. And it's very fitting. And that's what we just, celebrated in the locker room, and we'll continue to celebrate for a little while.
You were fairly emotional coming off that field.
Yeah.
What were you feeling at that moment?
Well, I've been emotional. The team will tell you that for the last couple of days. When I started hearing some of the things that we're saying, first off, it's not true. I don't know where people get off just saying things. It really upsets me. Put the film on. People make comments, and they don't watch film. Our guys are tough. They're physical. They do. They get after it. And they did it again tonight.
And you said that was Coach Holtz?
Come on.
Yeah, it was.
Front row, Tim May on 3.
And I don't know where he gets off saying those type of things. I don't. I mean, I have some other things I'd like to say too, but I'm not going to say that because I'm more respectful than he is.
Pass to Buka down to the 1 yard line. Key play, obviously, and then the run, the choice of the run with Chip, for the touchdown. What went into those calls? What did you see? What were you thinking? What was the message to Kyle, I guess?
In the 2 minute?
Yeah.
You're talking about the 2 minute?
Yeah, 2 minute.
Yeah. Well, we spent some time. Is Kyle in here?
Yes.
Yeah, we spent some time talking about 2 minute today, right?
Yeah.
And it just talks about how when you work a game plan, you just keep grinding and you keep working and you keep working all the way up until 4 hours before the game. We met on 2 minute. We met with the receivers. We showed what we were expecting in that moment, and you never know exactly what you're going to get. But I think Kyle had good poise. I thought the protection was good, and there was some really clutch catches out there. Certainly, Emeka had a big one.
Over here to the left, Rob Aller, Columbus Dispatch.
You have one play, you run it. That probably surprised some people based on what's been said. Who made that call, and was there any doubt that you were going to run that play?
Me, I made the call. Was there doubt? I think I looked at the clock and knew there were 3 seconds left. So I'm thinking that's the last play anyways. You know what I'm saying? I knew we couldn't get 2 plays with no timeouts because we lost the timeout on the grounding. So I said, well, at this point, it probably just makes sense for 1 yard. Not only do we need to get that yard for this program, but I felt like it was the right thing to do schematically.
Over here to the right, Ari Wasserman, The Athletic.
Ryan, you've done a lot of press conferences. You've won a lot of games. You've been in some emotional games. And I don't think I've seen you like this before. Can you explain just kind of like where your headspace was coming into this game and why you might be as emotional as you are?
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, there's no doubt I am emotional. Because, in life, when people start talking and say things about you, at some point you got to put a foot in the ground. And our team did that. And it was a life lesson. It was. We always say ignore the noise, but every once in a while, after a while, someone's poking at you, you got to stand up for what you believe in. And that's the way, I was raised, and that's the way I'm going to be moving forward. And I got a bunch of guys in there that I love, that I work with every single day. And to hear some of the things that were said, I mean, I get Ohio against the world, but we needed to go play like that today. We need to win like that to stop that narrative that's going on out there, because it's not true. And to win like that, the way we did, I think it's going to do that.
Did that have something to do with that last call? Is anything else?
Yes, 1,000%. And I think it's going to go down and as one of the big wins in Ohio State history. I mean, it's one of the clutch 4th down comebacks on the road in a top 10 environment. And then, we had this home and home with Notre Dame to go 2-0. Says a lot about this team.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Ryan, in the 2 minute, Kyle looks better on 3rd and 4th down. And 4th down.
You can ask him. He's coming up next.
You talk about this cool collective character who never gets rattled at all. And on 1st and 2nd down, he looks not as good. On the 3rd and 4th down, he's completely passing the defense. What goes into that, and what goes through your mind on the 3rd and 4th down when you see him drop that?
I haven't quite thought of it like that, but I'm going to now process it and watch it the way you're saying it. I don't know if it has to do with, the concepts. I'm not sure. We'll look at it. I thought he made some nice throws on 1st and 2nd down, but he did his best ball on 3rd down. I thought played his best ball on 3rd down today. We didn't really give him a great opportunity down in the red zone. We were running the ball and down there a little bit more. Probably could have taken some opportunities. I thought he threw a nice ball on the one that they called back on Emeka. That was a nice throw. Didn't quite work out, but the bottom line is he competed and won a game like this, and that's the start.
We're going to have time just for a couple more. Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Right. Behave from that one. Okay.
You're good. For starters, how is Marvin after the ankle thing, but also they went out of their way to take him away at times. How did you maybe adjust to that as the game went on?
Yeah.
2 guys on him at all times.
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to get it to him the best we could, but when they decide they're going to double him in those situations, we have to continue to try to find ways. But I thought he showed toughness to come back after he got his ankle pretty good down. He was down there for a minute to tape it up and to play the way he did. But he also, I've said this before, in a 2-minute situation, if you're going to double him, somebody's in a one-on-one. And every time we talk about bracket, Kyle, what do we say? Find the what? One-on-one. That's it. And so someone's going to be in a one-on-one, so they got to win. Right. And so, Marvin doesn't get the catch to win the game, although we tried to get it to him right down on the sprint out. But his presence made a huge impact on the game. And if he doesn't come back after rolling he sprained his ankle. If he doesn't come back after that, maybe he doesn't draw the attention that opened up Emeka. And again, you talk about toughness right there. That was toughness by 18.
Tony Gerdman, Buckeye Huddle.
Ryan, before the game, Chips came up behind you and kind of eased you your concerns. Like, what happened there? What did he say? And,
that's our ritual. So he does that now. He always scares the heck out of me and rattles my cage. But yes, during the deep balls, he comes up behind me and I'm like, what was that? And there was a little bit something extra before the game. There was a few extra things before the game.
What's going through your mind when you're watching the review, waiting for the review on his touchdown?
Touchdown. I couldn't even possibly think if I don't get one of these calls. I swear I don't know what I would have done. I mean, I was like, there's got to be somebody watching right now, right? I mean, you can't take this away from us.
Any national folks that I didn't miss? Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.
Yeah, Ryan, you're the Ohio State coach. You're going to get criticism. What was it that really got to you that has led to kind of?
Yeah, that people said we weren't physical. Yeah, they said we weren't physical. They were going to run the ball all over the place on us. And I mean, where did people get off saying that? There was a half of football that I agree with up in Ann Arbor 2 years ago that was not very well done at all. It's bad. But when else has that happened? I want to know, because that's not true. And I take offense to that, and I know everybody else in Buckeye Nation does too. And so, we're going to let that happen to us tonight.
Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys' patience with me today. Yeah. Huh? Defense, unbelievable. Yeah, I got to talk about the defense.
Yes.
I thought the defense hung in there. They had the ball for 35 minutes, and they were out there for what seemed like forever. Although it was only 64 plays, it seemed like longer than that. But they hung in there, and they played well. I don't know how many explosives, but I don't think there was very many big plays, and that was a big thing going into the season. They played tough, and they didn't give up explosive plays. Hats off to the defense, a great win.
Specifically at 4th and 1, when you made the stop.
Huge. Yeah.
Helps both ways, his toughness thing.
Yes, sir.
Great. Thanks, Coach. Thank you very much. All right, folks, I'm going to bring up Kyle McCord now. Now we're going to have players, kind of starting to dwindle outside. I am going to bring Chip Trainum in here as well. Got Kyle McCord, Dylan Davis, Delaware Gazette.
Kyle, going into that last drive, I guess what was going through your mind? Did you say anything to anybody? Anybody say anything to you, or was it just kind of steady as ever?
Yeah, I mean, we practice those 2-minute situations all the time. And, at that point, it was just, reverting back to our training. And, just my job is to get the ball in the hands of the playmakers and, let them do special things. And that's exactly what it was. It wasn't perfect by any means. But at the end of the day, we found a way to make it work. And, that's all that matters.
I know you're going to get asked a lot of, how it happened. Like, what does this really mean for you? Like, obviously, this is the reason you came to Ohio State. For moments like this, you get your opportunity to have a win like this and go down in the ages for one of the best in the program history.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can't draw it up any better than that. Down 4 points with a chance to go win it there at the end, and a historic stadium, a great environment against a great defense. You can't draw it up any better than that. And, to come away with the win, like I said, it wasn't perfect. Still a lot to grow on, but, it feels really, really good.
Pat 40, Sports Illustrated.
Kyle, if you go through the throw, book it down to the 1, and then when the play call comes in, you run the ball.
And Emeka's outside, people, for anybody want.
You got to make the book outside.
Yeah.
For a second.
Yeah. So the play call that I ended up throwing to Mech, like Coach Day was saying, Marvin obviously draws a lot of attention, and they were playing soft defense, and Mecca did a great job just kind of feeling the zone. And at that point, you're just playing backyard football, just giving your guy a chance to go make a big play, and that's exactly what he did. And then talking about the run, like Coach Day was saying, the narrative around us is that we aren't tough, and I don't know how else you would want to draw it up. Last play of the game, a top 10 opponent, no timeouts, 3 seconds left. It's either we get that yard and win, or we don't get the yard and lose. And I think that says a lot about the boys up front. I know they're tired of hearing that narrative too, and I think it's just all crazy how it all came together like that.
Dan Hope, Lebanon Warriors.
Kyle, you mentioned what Coach Day just said. I mean, that's about as fired up as I've ever seen him post game. With his emotions the last couple of days, were that is that as fired up as you would see him?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely the most animated I've ever seen him, and rightfully so. People were taking shots at him, taking shots at the team, and that weren't true. And I think we did a good job of just kind of staying quiet, but that was definitely fuel to fire. I'd be lying if we said that that didn't bother us. And I think we came out here, and I think we proved a lot of people wrong. But the bigger thing is I think we proved ourselves right.
Austin Huff, South Bend Tribune.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, on that last play, the touchdown run, did you notice that Notre Dame only had 10 guys on the field, or the D lineman was missing right where you actually ran the touchdown play? Did you notice that?
No, I didn't. I didn't notice it wasn't. But the play before the sprint out, we had a similar look, I think, on defense. Might have been the same defensive call. And, I saw that. And I'm sure they saw it up in the booth, relayed it to Coach Day. I'm sure he saw it on the field. So, as much as I would have liked to complete that pass to Marvin there, I think it was only fitting that, we scored that way with Chip.
Lakin Lickman, Fox Sports.
Kyle, back to Ryan being so emotional. Were you guys hearing those same things? Were you reading them yourself, or was that a message that the coaching staff was communicating to you guys all week? And if so, how did they let you know that people were saying things about you?
Yeah. I know a lot of the guys aren't on social media too much, but at the facility, we have a bunch of TVs around the facility, and, we definitely use that as, kind of bulletin board material. And, when you see people taking shots at your family like that, it didn't sit right with guys. And, I'm just happy that we came out here and proved ourselves right.
Chuck Culpepper, Washington Post.
Yeah, that was one of the harder 65-yard drives you've ever seen. A 3rd and 10, a 4th and 7, and a 3rd and 19. Remember kind of what you thought and felt along the way and how difficult it seemed?
Yeah, we're never out of it until, there's no time left on the clock. And, as long as we got the ball and, we got some time left, the sky's the limit for this offense. And I thought the O-line did a really good job. The running backs, too, in pass protection. It wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, our receivers did a really good job of getting open and, understanding what they were trying to do defensively. And, it was almost kind of backyard football-esque there at the end, just, trying to find the open guy. And, we did that. And, the rest is history.
All right, last question for Kyle. Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
On that drive to throw to Fleming, it's 3rd and 19. You get it down to the 1-yard line. Is he the primary look on that? What happened on that play?
To throw to Emeka?
Oh, it's to Emeka.
Yeah, to Emeka, yeah.
Okay. What are you seeing on that play?
Yeah. So defensively, they were just playing pretty soft, and we called a concept that would just kind of give me the freedom to just feel where that window is, and we've repped it a ton in practice, so I kind of knew it like the back of my hand, and with the opportunity presented itself, just putting the ball in Emeka's area code and letting him go get it, and that's exactly what he did. And then, like I said, I think there at the end, just great way to cap off that drive.
The emergency to get down there and spike it, and he still run 2 or 3 more plays after that.
Yeah.
This is like you repped it on Tuesday in practice.
Yeah, that's a tribute to our practice habits. You always say that you want to practice like the game, and we're out there at the Woody run those plays with nobody out there, and it's quiet, and then you get out here and you have to perfect it in front of millions of people, and that's exactly what we did. And I think that's just a tribute to reps on reps on reps, and guys making plays when their number's called.
When the call came in for you to run Chip off left tackle, what was your thought?
Yeah, I had no doubt, because that's what we talked about, especially coming off that game from last year, where we felt like we were really one play away, to kind of have that all come full circle this early in the year. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to get in there. Our line did a great job getting the push, and there's no way Chip was going to be denied with the game on the line. So just a tribute to everybody in the offense, man. What a way to win.
Great, Kyle. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring Chip Trainum up for about half a dozen questions or so. We've got, I know I owe someone, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Chip, I guess just from thinking through everything that happens there, from the moment you hear your number called for that play to then what you see in front of you.
Yeah, it was definitely a rush getting on the field, just to get on the field, get Travion off the field, but just to hurry up, get on the field, get the play call.
Hold on. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
It was definitely a rush just to hurry up, get on the field, get the play call, and just get lined up and ready to go. But yeah, it was just getting fast and executing. Just because, I had confidence in the play, and I knew my teammates had confidence in me. So
over here, Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.
Yeah, Chip, just as far as the review, did you think you were in, or was there any doubt in your mind?
No, I knew I was definitely in. It was close. But as a running back, you live for runs like that, the nitty-gritty runs. The runs where you fighting with your body to stay up, making sure nothing touched. So, you definitely practice that and you envision that as a running back. But, man, God is great. this feeling. I mean, it's still surreal, but it's definitely a good Buckeye win to go into the bye week.
Joey Kaufman, Plymouth Dispatch.
Chip, for you, how gratifying is this moment considering kind of your career here? You started linebacker, you come back to running back, you're fighting for carries, you're running back to get a moment like that. What does it mean for you?
It means a lot, like I said, and it just echoes the confidence that like my teammates and my coaches have in me just to, give me the ball with the game on the line like that, just to keep our season dreams alive really at the end of the day. So it means a lot that they have confidence like that in me, and I just knew the job had to be done. Simple as that. I mean, we always preach 1 play, 1 yard, and toughness and fight, and I believe that, that 1 play sums it all up.
Jeff Gilbert, Press Pros.
Coach talked about standing up for you guys in the last 48 hours. What did that mean to you guys as a team for him to stand up and defend you guys, your physical nature and the way you guys play football?
No, it means a lot. We back Coach Day 100% all the way. He was fired up this week. Media was saying stuff, people were saying stuff, but we do a good job of blocking that noise out. I mean, like you've seen us with the flag on the field, Ohio against the world. We truly believe that inside the Woody and outside the Woody. It's really everybody against us, but we know at the end of the day, as long as we come to play our ball, it's always about the Buckeyes.
Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Chip, I know you've been asking a lot about your significant moment. Take us inside what it was like on the sideline. Marvin went down with an injury. Reactions from the team, how you guys kind of rallied past what seemed like a critical moment in the game.
Yeah, it was definitely shocking and sad to kind of see Marv go down, but we always preach like a next play up, next play mentality, and that's why you have guys like that's why you have rooms deep, like our room, you have the wide receiver room, but it was ultimately, if Marv didn't go back in, it was Carnell Tate's time to step in the game and do his due. But it was definitely a blessing just to see Marv get up and get back out there on the field and fight for his brothers.
Over to the right, Andy Staples, Chip, The Athletic.
Do you ever tell your coaches, hey, in those situations, give it to me? Or do you say that tonight? And then what does it mean that they chose you for that play?
I'm not a flamboyant person, all like that, but I am humble. But ultimately just grateful, just knowing that like I didn't really get a lot of reps in the game tonight, but I try to make all my reps count really at the end of the day. So that's what I really tried to do. And when my number was called, I just made it. So that's what we strive on, competitive excellence. So
I'm sorry about that, Chip.
No, go ahead.
Spencer Holbrook, Letterman and Rowe.
Chip, Ryan talked about Ohio against the world. You just talked about Ohio against the world. There have been any of these guys who are from all around the country, 5-star players, 4-star players, but to be an Ohio kid and to be laying in the end zone right there and have Ryan say after the game, Ohio against the world. For you, when you hear that after doing that, what does that mean to you as an Ohio?
It means a lot, man. To be honest, like I said, God is great. Like I never even envisioned like a moment like this, but ultimately it happened at the end of the day. Just thankful, just because of a tough nail-biting game. I mean, we knew it was going to come down to the fourth quarter. I mean, we didn't know it was going to come down to the last play, 1 yard, but we always preached at the beginning of the game, keep swinging, keep swinging, keep swinging, and that's exactly what we did.
We go 2 more. Tim May on 3.
When the call comes in, you're watching the signals, right? You understand you're getting the ball, right? Do you have a choice on that play after you get the ball, or is it just all ahead or nothing?
No, particularly that play has specific reads. That play has specific reads to it, but I mean, at the end of the day, how I saw the penetration of the line and just how I saw Notre Dame coming off the edges, I just knew to stay tight to it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just you either get the yard or you don't. So,
do you feel like y'all proved that point that Coach Day was talking about being a physical team when the need arises? What point did y'all prove tonight?
We definitely proved that point. I feel like we proved that point all throughout the 4 quarters. Like I said, they swung, we swung, and we kept swinging. So, I mean, ultimately that point was proven. We strive on toughness, and toughness is getting the job done no matter what, and that's what we did.
If there were any doubts about Cal McCord being the starting quarterback at Ohio State, were they answered tonight?
Hell yeah, there was an answer tonight. Kyle's a dog. Kyle's a dog, and Kyle knows like the whole team rallies around him. Like that's my guy. Like we got him.
Marcus Hartman, Dayton Daily News.
What does it take to keep your knees up? You said that's something you guys practice. What goes into that?
No, just something as a running back, just like with body control and everything. But in moments like that, it may all seem very fast, but I mean, at the end of the day, in the moment, those plays seem super slow, and you just know what you got to do to get the job done. And thankfully, I had the wisdom to know to keep my knees up. But yeah. just ultimately just landed out there off of the last play.
Great. Chip, thank you so much. Congratulations. Okay, that's it in here, folks. Thanks so much for everything.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right, that was the game winner, Chip Trainum there. Got to talk to Kyle McCord, and let's jump in right into Ryan Day. Garrett, that was not very Ryan Day-esque to go in there and not just take some shots. I mean, these weren't passive-aggressive shots. These were pretty. We know who he was talking about. He mentioned a name or two. What was that like? I guess seeing that, Garrett, your kind of reaction to Ryan Day really going after those guys.
I think it's the Ryan Day that so many Ohio State fans have wanted to see for so long, that the perception is he's always this Kyle McCord-esque, always even keel. And then last year against Georgia was like, well, where was this guy all season? And then tonight you see, and I think he's got a legitimate gripe. And I think he was not shy about showing it. If you look at the comments in our chat here, it was, this is the Ryan Day I want to see. This is the Ryan Day that I want to see for the next 9 weeks, that I want to see this passion, this fire, and whether that transpires or not. But I think he's always been kind of holding that in just a little bit because, he's going to share that with the team, right? Like, he's not giving the CEO answers on a Tuesday as they're practicing. He's getting fired up. But to see that level of it, one, it is fun and exciting and entertaining. And I'm here for it, frankly. Devin, you're a coach. If head coach comes in and you see that, how are you feeling?
It's the way I say it's like this. If he's always like that, it's almost numb to the players. But to see him in key moments let it rip, you can't help but respond as a player. Like, my head coach is out there, figuratively fighting for my honor. I have got to go out on the football field and fight for his in the ball game. And as a player, as a coach, that's what you hope for, the response you hope to get out of your players. Again, he doesn't do it all often. Everyone says he wants to see it all, nonstop, all the time, 24/7. To me, I think it kind of loses some of its impact. But, Ryan Day in the Georgia Bowl game and tonight, he definitely saw the effect it has on his team when he does let it rip like that. And, hopefully in the right moments, he lets it rip again, and hopefully the team responds as well as they did tonight.
Garrett, you talked about, right before we went to Ryan Day, you were talking about how, like one play, what an impact one play could have. And I felt like there were maybe a dozen of those tonight where, and it was kind of split, maybe 50-50 between the two teams, where it's like, that play may have just cost Ohio State the game, or that play may have just cost Notre Dame the game. I go back all the way to that personal foul, because we went back and forth on Twitter quite a bit tonight about why the defense was gassed in the second half, or how that was an excuse for why the defense wasn't performing as well in the second half. I didn't like that excuse because the time of possession in the first half was pretty much even. It was very close in the first half. There was no reason for Notre Dame's defense to be more fresh than Ohio State's in the second half, other than their own inability to get off the field. That being said, the only time that Notre Dame really stopped Ohio State's offense in the second half was on that personal foul by Fryer. That, to me, was going to be maybe the biggest play of the game until McCord's 3rd and 19 throw to Ibuka to the 1-yard line, because that effectively got Notre Dame back in the game. At that point, Ohio State's offense is starting to come alive. The defense had been getting stops. And, you have a chance to kind of just continue to make those make that progress and make those improvements offensively. By the letter of the rule, am I wrong? I hated the call. I've watched kids finish blocks for years. I know someone yelled at me on Twitter that the rules are different now. What is Fryer supposed to do there legitimately?
I think there's a couple things that go into that, because I didn't hate the call. I thought it was a fair call, just because if you take 2 forearm shivs to the back of the head of a defender who's already on the ground after the ball's away, in 2023, you're asking for a personal foul. So I didn't hate the call. I certainly understand the thought process of, well, hell, Orlando Pace made a living in the NFL doing that. I get that, but I just think in today, especially to the back of the head, I thought that's an easy call. If anything, I thought it was a hold before that where he just takes Javonte Jean-Baptiste and just chucks him with a full-on two shoulder pad grab and just lets him fly. I thought originally seeing the play live, I was like, okay, that's a hold. And then they threw the flag and said it's a personal foul. I was like, oh, what was that? Saw the replay and was like, oh, yeah, you can't put your forearms into the back of somebody's head today. It just can't happen. But going back to what I was talking about before Ryan Day popped on, this the one play. If JT Tuimoloau, I can say his name, I swear. If JT doesn't get a sack to make it 2nd and 15, does Ohio State get off the field? If JT doesn't almost get if they complete that pass, it probably goes for a first down on the screen that he almost picked. And the game is over, and we're having a drastically different conversation here. If Chip Trainum doesn't get in the end zone after the 3rd and 19 chuck, we're talking, the chat is talking about how Ryan Day deserves to be fired. If Kyle McCord doesn't throw the ball on 3rd and 19 on the dot, we're having a discussion about whether Kyle McCord should be the guy going forward. It's those one plays that not only change the game and change the trajectory of a game, but change the trajectory of the program. Because I'm telling you, if they lose that game, the fire Ryan Day comments are coming in rapidly. And there are still some of those guys. But the short yard, we're going to talk about right off the top, the short yardage failures. They win the game on a short yardage play. Each play in that game not only hinged on the trajectory of the game, but then also how we view Kyle McCord, how we view Ryan Day. Thankfully, it's positive right now.
I've been primarily a Ryan Day defender against the fan base over the years, and I'll continue to defend him between the 20s. I don't understand the red zone stuff. I don't understand okay, bye week. Can we install a quarterback sneak? Can we please? I'm not going to rant on that again, but so I generally have sided with Ryan Day, but when I do move to that Twitter, vocal minority, whatever you want to call it, is when we start to talk about the red zone, those runs to the short side, those little pitches to the short side, just not lining up with your 230-pound quarterback or at least they gave it to Chip on the 3rd time was a charm there. The jet sweep almost sent me through the roof. Just not even because it failed and Ohio looked like Ohio State was going to lose. It was just, as someone who loves football, it drove me absolutely insane. I've ranted about teams I don't cover, I don't follow, doing similar things in that situation. It could have been, like I said, it could have been Colorado State versus San Jose State, and I would have went ballistic had I watched that. It's one of those things. But I want to flip this real quick. What the hell was Marcus Freeman, or I'm sorry, their offensive coordinator, I guess Freeman's not calling the plays. What the hell was Notre Dame doing on that last drive? They had just spent the entire second half getting hat on hat, pushing Ohio State's offensive line around. And I'm not trying to take anything away from JT, but you get cute there. He makes that play. He's unblocked. He's virtually, and I'm going to go back and just watch this and make sure I don't totally put my foot in my mouth. He was essentially unblocked because he wasn't even supposed to be in the play. They had set up I'm sure Notre Dame has a totally different term for this. When I ran this play, or when, my family were coaches, we used to call this counter crisscross. It was essentially, you're bringing the running back through or the H through, and you're running a counter back the other way. Hartman keeps it. And they gifted Ohio State an opportunity to make a negative play there when they were getting 7-8 yards a pop. Now you're in 2nd and long. You can't just, maybe you can try and go back between the tackles again, but then, if Ohio State's able to stop that, you're, at best, maybe you're 3rd and 11. So you've got to get out of what you want to do. So now you're running a screen pass. Why did they get away? I think Notre Dame should be taking some heat for how they handled the last couple minutes there. I don't know why they got away from what was working for them in the second half. Devin?
My knee-jerk reaction again is, if it hits, you look like a genius. They're looking for something in the booth. Someone saying, hey, we got them right where we want them. Let's go put this game away right now and gash them with a huge play and knee it out from there in effect. So I think that's what they were trying to accomplish there. I'll give you an Ohio State example. Go back to the Rose Bowl a few years ago. 4th and 1 against Utah, and they took a shot deep to Marvin Harrison Jr. for a touchdown. Looks like a genius. It's one of those things where when it hits, you look like a genius. When you don't, it's one extreme or the other. You're the fool. You're the fool or the genius. And in this particular case for Notre Dame, and fortunately for Ohio State fans, look the opposite of a genius tonight on that play call tonight. So I think that's what they're trying to accomplish is, hey, let's go ahead and win this ball game. Instead of trying to milk the clock, let's gash them and put this thing completely to bed right now. Would be my guess of what they were trying to accomplish with that series of play calls.
Yeah, I just can't believe they got away from that. It's just north-south, hat on hat. Don't give JT a crease there that he can shoot a gap or basically be blocked and make a play. I mean,
the first 2 plays of the drive, they gained 12 yards and 11 yards.
Yes.
And it was, they threw a pretty high percentage pass on the first play and then a run with Estime right up the middle, and then got away from that. That I think, and I mentioned, if Sam Hartman doesn't take that sack to make it 2nd and 15, at that point, you then have to change the way you want to play the entire rest of the drive because you're backed up. That Ohio State has to get a play like that in that situation. And when I don't know how or why you open the door for that to happen. If you just if you run Estime right up the gut again and JT comes off the edge and makes a tackle for a loss of 1, the momentum doesn't shift. None of that really happens. It's 3rd and 11. All right, we'll run it again and make Ohio State burn our last timeout. That was my gripe, was they didn't take the timeout. I'm like, what are you doing? But it worked out.
Let me throw this thought out to you. We see Tom's here with us. Was this JT's first sack of the season tonight on that play?
I think it was. I don't think he had one before that. That was a monster play.
Here we are talking about, hey, offense failures can't convert on, 3rd and everyone knows your name. Well, what's the defense rant and ramble? Hey, this D-line, there have been ghosts. Where are they at? We can't get to the quarterback. And when, the team, what's the old Urban Meyer saying? When the team needs you the most, you gave me your best, or something to that effect. Well, when the team needed him the most, JT, he found something. He put the quarterback on the ground, busted up that screen pass. So as much as we're talking about Ohio State converting on a 3rd and everyone knows your name, and we needed the most, well, they got put there thanks to JT's huge play there at the end of the game.
And that's another narrative that, talk about narratives, what the narrative was if things go a little bit differently for certain people. And that's another guy, I think, what's the narrative if those plays don't happen? And like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from JT, but I think Notre Dame got way too cute there and kind of allowed that to happen, but he made the plays, so you have to credit him. The screen pass was a tremendous play. I thought the screen pass was by far the best of the 2 plays. That was just a beautiful read. But if those plays if Notre Dame just runs Estime up the middle and runs the clock out, what are we saying about JT and that defensive line right now? I mean, there are so many things just changed on a 1 3rd and 19 throw. Tom, what was it like in the stadium? My goodness.
Yeah, it was. I feel like I spent the last 5 minutes or so just turning to the person next to me just over and over after every play and going, well, man, what a football game. And it's not like it wasn't a great football game, but it was a really exciting football game. It reminded me a lot of the 1997 Rose Bowl, where everyone remembers the last drive and the David Boston touchdown. And everyone forgets that game was 14-10 with 5 minutes left. That was not a great game. And, if you lived in Columbus at any point in the mid-90s, you saw that game about 500 times. Every time you walked through the airport, the Ohio State store was playing it. But it's remembered because of how it ended. This is going to be one that, to Mark's point, I was turned to the guy next to me on that last play before they handed it to Trainham and said, man, it is amazing how different the narrative around this team is if they get 1 yard or don't get 1 yard. And that's probably going to, a function of there's going to be some overreaction one way or the other, that either, oh, they blew again, or, oh, they won and everything is perfect. neither of those is probably exactly right, but I mean, they would obviously rather have had it go the way that it did, and I mean, this is exciting games I've seen. This is up there with the game. This is up there with I mean, you guys maybe have talked about some of that, but this is up there with any of them.
And Devin, isn't this, as a coach, isn't this the perfect kind of game from a coaching perspective? Because, and we're not going to rehash all of it, but they did a lot wrong tonight too. Like there are still some long-term trends that continued tonight, but isn't it way easier to come into a bye week and then you get some extra time to prepare? Isn't it way easier to be doing that, winning by 3 versus losing by a field goal or by whatever is going to be 14-10? I mean, I feel like you have the attention of the team now, and this is actually a much better environment to maybe clean some of this stuff up.
The attitude of the team is you can now take the approach of, hey, won in advance, let's go enjoy, celebrate it, come back to work, we say Monday, but and get ready to get better. You come out of that getting stuffed on 4th and 1. It's all of a sudden you feel like you have got to start back at square one and build the whole team back up again. And that's not just X and O's and blocking technique. That is morale. Here you're going to be real high. Emotions riding high, coming off of a big win like that in the fashion they did it, and be able to go, hey guys, look, win in advance, but we got to fix these things to keep getting better, instead of, again, you're on the other side of it, having to build the whole thing all over again.
Garrett, just your thoughts on how that kind of played out at the end. Now you're going into a bye week. Would you like to play next week? Would you like to play, even if it's maybe not want to play Michigan or Penn State next week, but would you like to have another game next week? Or is this, pretty good time to rest up?
I think it sets up nicely. You get a Big Ten game off the top of the schedule. You get 3 non-conference games, with the most challenging at the end of that streak. And now you have a really good time to say, okay, you get that week to say, this is where we really, really, really need to improve, because you've now seen, like, hey, if that's a game against Penn State or if that's a game against Michigan, that's the level that we're going to have to play at. That's the level, like, we can't have some of the mistakes that we made both on the field and under the headsets. So everybody gets a chance to reevaluate some things and take that opportunity to now go, okay, here's how we got to operate moving forward. But that's the level we've got to play at. You've seen the test. You've seen one of the best teams in the country, and you were able to persevere through that, especially when it looked pretty dire at times. But now you then get to roll into, okay, Maryland's not going to be a slouch. They're not going to be at that level of Western Kentucky and Youngstown State, or they'll be better than Indiana. So you now have challenged yourself, and you see, okay, this is what it looks like for some of those guys that are playing their first games against big boy football. You now get the opportunity to take a step back, reevaluate. So I think the bye week comes at a really good time, because it's going to be a sprint to the finish from here, and you're going to get everybody's best test from here on out.
As I let this sink in a little more, this is the closest thing they'll see to Michigan, I think.
Yeah.
Before Michigan, from a style of play perspective. Maybe more important than beating, let's say you beat, I don't know, USC instead of Notre Dame, and it's 48-45. Do you really gain anything from that in terms of going up to Ann Arbor and winning, or is it just kind of a flashy win for the polls and the rankings? This may have more value, Tom. What do you think?
Yeah, it is absolutely the closest corollary they've got to Michigan on the schedule right now. And, I think the focus on the game during the course of the game was, boy, why isn't the offense scoring? That defense was pretty darn good. And you could tell they were sort of wearing down as the game went along. And, boy, they really could have used a 10-play, 82-yard, 6-minute kind of drive on offense to get those get those poor tired defensive guys a little bit of a rest. But for the first 3 quarters, that was a really, really good defensive performance. And, you know, when you wear down, you wear down. And that's probably – how much did we see Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson? Not a whole heck of a lot. And I feel like we really expect to see in the middle of the defensive line. You didn't see Taiwan Malone. You didn't see Hero Canoe. They kept the bench – or, you know, the rotation pretty shallow. They will rotate guys, but they kept the rotation pretty shallow. The results were really good, but you got to it wears down a little bit. So I think there's a lot to feel good about for Ohio State fans. All the people that were complaining after last year, like, sure, you can score 40 points any week, but what about the defense? Now you got the defense. And, you know, I mean, the offense obviously is certainly a work in progress. And, boy, some choices were made in terms of play calling and game management and all that kind of stuff. And good news, we have the Buckeye Weekly Instant Reaction Show coming up to talk about all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is a signature win for Ryan Day and this program, because this is the kind of game that they have found a way to lose in the past. Now they found a way to win it, and you know, they won it by that much. But you know, they don't give you, you know, this is not win probability. You don't get fractions of win. You get a 1 in that column or a 0, and they got a 1 tonight.
And we'll wrap up with this. I think you guys are close to getting ready over there. And I'll just go around the horn. We'll start with Garrett, then we'll go to Devin, and then we'll throw it to Tom. You know, we talked Ryan Day's comments about Lou Holtz. When Lou Holtz first made those comments, I'm like, look, you know, he is the ultimate Notre Dame homer. He's not even in the media anymore. You almost don't even want to take him seriously. So I was a little bit like, all right, dude, like, whatever. Like, you say this every week about Notre Dame. The Day stuff did seem a little personal, though, which I thought was weird. It's nothing for Lou Holtz to predict, you know, or to completely exaggerate, you know, Notre Dame's abilities. He does that. That's his shtick. That's why a lot of people love him. No one really takes it seriously. Then as the game started to play out, I'm like, oh my God, they're going to make this guy look like he was right. And now, like, it's almost like legitimize this, like, kind of like sideshow character. You know, he's almost like a cartoon character. To really, no one takes his Notre Dame predictions seriously. I'm like, this guy's actually going to gain like some level of credibility with this. Then that all, you know, was Holtz. Is this softness, or is it play calling? Is it scheme? Garrett, I mean, kind of on the continuum of, you know, Lou Holtz was way off, Lou Holtz was way on. Where are we at?
I'm somewhat in the middle, because portions of his argument were right. Have they blown 2 16-point leads in college football playoff games? Yeah, they have. Did they get blown out by Michigan and they get pushed around by Michigan at times? Yeah, they did. But I think there's a miscorrelation between having really good wide receivers and quarterbacks who can spread the wealth and dissect a defense the way that CJ Stroud and Justin Fields could. And there's a back and forth, and I don't even know if it's a back and forth, but there is an idea for those old school football coaches that, by God, if you can't line a ball up and go hat on a hat, man on a man, play power football, by God, you're not physical, you're soft. And I don't think that's fair. And I frankly, I think if Chip Trainum doesn't score a touchdown on the last play of the game, Ryan Day can't say, he has nothing to point to say, we're not soft, we're physical, because on the game's most important play, if that play doesn't happen, is a 4th and 1 failure where you handed the ball to a wide receiver. So I think there's some criticism warranted by Lou Holtz, and I think some of that is valid, but history's written by the victors, and Ohio State won.
Yeah, I mean, Devin, do you see this as more of a schematic thing, or is this a cultural thing?
I think it is. If Ryan Day wants to put this narrative to bed, he has one shot this season, and that's the last game of the regular season. Because 2 years in a row now, he's let his biggest rival in the biggest game run for, it seems like 500 yards a game. And if you want to put to bed, you got to win that one. And I think to me, that's what it really comes down to. If you want to stop, quiet the critics and take away all their material, you got to win that one. And you got to, I almost want to go so far as to say you almost need to do it in convincing fashion to put it to bed.
Yeah, you can't win that game 42-38 where Michigan runs for 350, right? You kind of have to win either convincingly or at least in a game where you've, kind of stood up to Michigan's running game in the second half. And, I think a lot of it is whatever criticism I would throw at them on this. I don't think the kids are soft. I don't think the coaches are soft. I know the kids aren't soft. I've covered them all since they were 16 years old. God, if anything, Josh Fryer's personal foul would fly in the face of anybody that thinks they're not physical, they're not tough, that they're soft. That was a really hard-nosed play that he got the personal foul on. I think they play hard. I think it is more of a scheme or a coaching thing of where, look, we're going to line up and we're going to quarterback sneak. Has anyone heard my quarterback sneak rant yet? But we're going to get this yard. We're going to just drive our quarterback through the line. And that's going to be that. And then because I refuse to believe that I watch too much of practice. I watch too much of these guys coming out of high school. I watch too much of what we saw even tonight in certain situations to say, well, they're just soft. No, I really think it's a coach. I think it's a coaching schematics thing. And I think hopefully maybe the Chip Trainum run gets them over the hump. And I don't mean them. When I say them, I don't necessarily even mean the players. Does that get Ryan Day over the hump of, okay, we've done it. Let's keep doing it that way. Let's not run a jet sweep to our wide receiver. Let's not roll our quarterback out instead of just pushing the pile 2 feet. Maybe this is what Ryan Day needed to maybe have a philosophical shift. I mean, he even talked about in the postgame that he was thinking about that.
I think it's hard as an offensive play caller to fight the urge to outthink the room, right? Like he's talked before about how we not only want to run the football when we want to, but when we have to. But sometimes if you're the smartest guy in the room and you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka, it's tempting to run a play. They did it early in the game on a play action pass down at the goal line where, okay, we're going to leak a fullback out. We're going to leak a tight end out and it's going to be wide open. Well, it wasn't. And so sometimes you got to fight that urge to just go, all right, we're going to do what everybody in the stadium thinks we're going to do. And it's us versus you. And that's where I think the soft moniker comes from, or the idea that they're not, tough and physical, because in those situations where for the last, 140 years of college football, you just line up 8 guys on a line of scrimmage, you turn around and hand it off to the biggest, rumbliest guy you can get it to, and you either get the yard or you don't. Well, football's changed a little bit since 1948 and 1984. So I think there's a little bit there of like, okay, where are we at our best? At quarterback and wide receiver for the last 5 years? Okay, well, that's what we're going to do with the football. But then at some point, and it comes the Saturday after Thanksgiving, you got to line up and run the football when you know you're going to do it, and they know you're going to do it, and 105,000 people in the bleachers know you're going to do it, and 15 million people watching at home know you're going to do it too. And you have to be successful, and that's where I think the perception lives and dies.
Devin, final thought on that or anything else?
No, it's a lot more fun when you get to talk about it after a win. And so that's my final thought on that one. Because, again, this may have been this could potentially be a program changer for Coach Day, if he takes advantage of going forward.
I know the BuckeyeHuddle.com message boards are feeling a lot better right now than they would have been had that gone poorly. I'm sure we'll actually see. I'll go back through the game thread, and there's just going to be this left turn shift of mood as Chip Trainum crosses the goal line from fire everybody, bench everybody to, oh my goodness, they figured it all out. But speaking of soft, we have Tom and Tony here with us, the Buckeye Weekly crew. Boys, how are we doing?
Doing pretty well. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Devin. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened on that final drive, but I'm looking forward to rewatching it and finding out.
Yeah, the basically quarter of that game is a little bit of a blur right now, where you've got it's like I know big things that happened. I could not at gunpoint tell you the sequence in which some of those things happened because there were so many things that happened. I just have a notes app thing in my phone where it's just like, oh, I've got a good picture of this. This is a big play. I need to make sure I get this picture, and it's just thing after thing after thing. And you know, hey, do you remember the time that Xavier Johnson had a massive reception down the middle and you know, basically had one of the backbreaking plays against Notre Dame? Because I feel like we've talked about a bunch of stuff for an hour and I didn't talk to anyone about that.
Yeah, you know, because welcome everybody to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom or Tom. We know how it's going. I do remember that Xavier Johnson and I were working our way down to the field, but we couldn't get on the field until there were 5 minutes left. There's like 5:50, 6 minutes. So we had to like crouch down so that we weren't blocking people's views in the stands in the stairway. So yes, you know, a little hard on the knees, but that when they failed there, if my memory recollects correctly, which I can't promise it does, it sure felt like that was the end, because the Notre Dame running game had been just controlling the game from essentially the second half, and they didn't necessarily capitalize as much as they could, but it just felt like they didn't need to give the ball back, and then they started throwing.
Yeah, that was if it just gone on like an endless drive, and it was 11 plays, 96 yards, 6:28 off the clock. Notre Dame's two previous drives totaled 24 plays, 171 yards, and just over 14 minutes of time off the clock. It is a quarter, and they just went down the field methodically both times. And then they got a bright idea, Tony. There were some bright ideas on both sides. Yeah. I mean, the Xavier Johnson play that set up a let's run an end around to Emeka Egbuka on 4th and 1. And at that moment, that was like, oh, they just blew it right there with a weapons grade stupid play call. And Notre Dame gets the ball back, and all Notre Dame has to do is run the clock out. Just do the same thing you've done in the previous two drives. It's like, no. I can fix it. My cousin has a set of tools. Like, Mom, watch this, and then they lose.
Well, and we talked to Jim Knowles, came out after the game, and he was also surprised that they decided to throw the ball. And maybe we have some of that later on. But we got a super chat right now.
Yes, but one from Mike says, put this towards the new modem, Kevin, which means probably great things about the internet connection out here. We're outside the stadium. Why? Because there are rules. Why are there rules? Well, people like rules, Tony. Mark Federer says, I love this side of Ryan Day. That was
never seen him like this.
That was a spicy press conference.
Well, it was, and it was going to be a very different press conference if they don't score there, because you mentioned that Emeka Egbuka 4th down end around, which was the very definition of a soft, you know, that's what a soft team would do.
Yeah.
We can't pick it up straight ahead, so let's try to get cute with it. And they failed.
Yeah.
And that felt like, well, there's the story of the game. Yeah. There's the narrative. You have just proven everybody right. And then one drive later, well, everything changed.
This is a stadium where, rather famously, sometimes you can beat Notre Dame by running a quarterback sneak and getting help from the back. Like, that is a thing that's happened in the past. You can learn from history in positive ways. I do not know if there is someone on the team who is allergic to quarterback sneaks, but it seems like there's plenty of opportunities to run them, and they choose to do a bunch of other stuff that ends up with, 3rd and 1 turned into 4th and 1. How about that? Again, how about that?
Yeah.
We are falling behind on Super Chats. Mike Smith says the play calling, especially on 4th and inches with a 6'3" quarterback, was not great. Yep.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The passion after the game was great to see. Good for him to call it out. I mean, that is the only corollary I can draw is the 2017 Michigan game where JT Barrett got whacked on the knee by a cameraman, and Urban Meyer has just beaten Michigan for the 6th straight time at that point, and he comes into the press conference and he's got like steam coming out of his ears, and it's like, did they lose and I didn't realize what happened? And this was this, I mean, like, and this is not, he wasn't angry and upset at the result or anything, but it was just like that was not the post-game response I expected.
It was a Neapolitan press conference. You had some happiness, you had some chocolate, you had some strawberries, some anger. This is an angry guy and a happy guy all in one. And the Urban Meyer is a good one, but it was funny because he's like, called out Lou Holtz essentially. And was like, I could say more, but I won't. And another thing.
Yeah, that was spicy.
Yeah.
And, I think that's probably sometimes, when you're upset about something else, you end up like there's something that you just sort of, blow up over. He's taken a lot of criticism and a lot of criticism for losing games in exactly the kind of way that it looked like they were going to lose the game tonight. So that was probably a little bit cathartic for him too. I don't know if he necessarily, and he said he was mad about this for days. I don't know that he necessarily planned on coming out with that way. You get the blood gets a little hot at the end of a game like that. But I mean, the scoreboard says what the scoreboard says.
It was irresponsible of Lou Holtz looking for some form of notoriety or just wanting to be relevant again. And you got it.
Yeah. Mike Farino says, why did they wait until they were trailing to get creative?
This was, they did. It was not a creative offensive game plan. I would agree. There were just sometimes they'll draw stuff up where that guy is wide open. There wasn't much of that in this one. They did take some shots. They were unsuccessful, of course, but it was not the most creative game plan. But he talked about letting it rip. I think they did that in some sense, but it wasn't all over the place because I don't know that. For one, Kyle McCord, we could talk about him. Like some of the decisions he was making were not great decisions, especially in the first half. I'm looking forward to watching that final drive again to see exactly what that was, because even watching Kyle McCord in the post-game press conference, Ryan Day's at the podium. Kyle McCord's just sitting off like, I wish I had my phone so I could play Jewel Quest or something. He's like, oh, was there a game?
I don't know. He was missing high often enough in the first half that I think there might have been a little extra juice that, he comes out and he looks calm, but you're allowed to have adrenaline. That is a thing you have in your body. And that is the kind of moment where it comes, it shows up. I think he was a little jazzed up, and then it seemed like he overthrew people in the first half, and then he kind of started underthrowing people because it was like he was trying to. Again, I'm just sort of speculating here, but it just felt like he was kind of trying to correct for the fact that he was overthrowing, and then he underthrew some people. But as he's going out on the field with a minute and whatever it was left, it was. I said out loud to the person next to me, we're going to find out a lot about this young man in the next minute or so of gameplay, and we did.
I thought we found out a lot in those first two throws, which was this moment is way too big for me.
I said those exact words after those first two throws,
and those weren't long throws, but they were off, and one was low, one was high, and it was like, well, maybe the next one will be in the middle.
I don't remember an Ohio State quarterback getting the yips before, but that's what it looked like. But then you come out, it's first down, it's second down, it's third down, and oh boy. You can feel the whole thing snowballing, and it's like, oh boy, the stadium is loud. Everything is going wrong. And then in your fifth career start, first true hostile road atmosphere, it's like, oh, and then you pulled it together and it was fine. Yeah. And then he kind of lost it again, and then it was fine. It wasn't easy, but it worked.
3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Jordan Kapler says, how does one pour out an emoji? Anyways, here, Shamrock. This has been a humdinger of a night for Notre Dame fans. This was the moment that you thought you had arrived. You finally have beaten this caliber of a team after falling flat on your face over and over and over and over again. They had the veteran defense. They finally have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And Sam Hartman is not magic, but if you were watching any of College Game Day, every sign at the College Game Day was Sam Hartman being compared to one member or another of the Holy Trinity. And it's like, oh, you guys really haven't had a quarterback for a long time here. And he was good. He wasn't incredible. I think a lot of people thought, well, the veteran is going to outplay the young guy. And the young guy did just fine.
We need to get some super chats before we can start talking about all of this.
All right.
Yes.
Mike says 4th and 1, end around to the short side of the field We should use the Bush push more. Appreciate you guys. See?
Yeah, or maybe just send the Bush push over to the short side,
Oh,
and Emeka will
smart.
get there.
Yeah.
And it's just
Mike Smith says defensively getting killed in some coverage with the curl routes that were at the line again. Surprised they didn't pressure Hartman more.
That's what that's one thing I want to talk about, because they were so open. And it's like, God, this defense is getting killed. 14 points. Like, I don't understand it. Sam Hartman had time. He was finding the tight ends were killing him. Audric Estime had some good runs. The change of pace backs that we talked about all week, I didn't know they had that many. Like,
It's they roll.
They have 4 guys out there.
It's like one of those boy bands where it's just like, oh yeah, this guy left the band, but now it's Menudo. It's okay. Menudo as a running back room.
It's K-pop, yes. And so 14 points. I don't know what the total yardage was. Did they give up 300?
They gave up 351, but of course, Tony, we don't use total yardage on the show because
yards per play.
Yards per play. 5.6 for Ohio State, 5.5 for Notre Dame.
Well, there you go. That's how you win.
You look at the Ohio State offense and you think, boy, Notre Dame really held them in check. And then you look at the Notre Dame offense and they had 1/10 of a yard less per play. So this feels like, I was not in there for the Jim Knowles press conference, but boy, speaking of people who have taken a little criticism over the years, feels like Jim Knowles may have, this year's Notre Dame team. I know everyone's going to, well, they gave up 10 points to Notre Dame last year, so this is worse. Like, this year's Notre Dame team is light years better than last year's Notre Dame team on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I did ask Knowles, because this game was getting away from them. Like, how did you stop the momentum? And he's like, well,
the same way they stopped Derrick Henry in the 2015 Sugar Bowl. Wait for the other coaches to do something stupid.
No, he didn't say that. He said toughness.
Well, okay.
Toughness.
Yeah, well, agree to disagree on that one. But
I think they were tough.
They were tough, yes, but also, sometimes Lane Kiffin forgets he has Derrick Henry. That's a thing that happens in football sometimes. Mike Smith says, I'm as surprised that as much as Notre Dame people throw that degree and its value around, that they can't count past the number of fingers on their hands.
Did you know?
I did not know. I did not realize that at the time. Oh boy, that's you want to talk about a mistake that's going to haunt you. This is like the polar opposite of the time David Boston returned to punt with 7 blockers, and it's like this fun, whimsical thing that was the end of a 72-0 game. This is the one crushing mistake that cost you this game, cost you. Think about the narrative around this Notre Dame program. First of all, there'd be a lot more people around right now if Notre Dame had won this game. You would have music, you would have people screaming. We wouldn't be able to do a live show out here. It would be too many people. It is deader than disco out here.
How much, and you can let us know in the chat, how much did they talk about that on the broadcast? Because we didn't even realize it until like the post game when somebody mentioned it. But yeah, I wonder, we get a name for that? A play that lives in lore or lives in infamy, something with a 10.
Oh, the golden rule is Kevin's suggestion. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's one of those. How can that happen?
Well,
how? Yeah, I mean, like Ohio State ran out 12 guys on a fake punt against Georgia last year in the Peach Bowl. They ended up getting, they called the timeouts. It didn't matter, but it's the same thing. Like, how does that mistake get made? There are so many people on the sideline, on the staff. How does that happen in that moment?
Especially because how does it happen? Because are you bringing out your strong package, or are you looking for Ohio State to spread it out, something like that? So that got crossed in there, and that's something that, oh man,
it was. It wasn't like, oh well, there was a corner on the far side of the field that wasn't there. It didn't impact the play. It was the guy at the point of attack on a play where Chip Trayanum made it by like 10 inches. I mean, do you think having an extra 300-pound body there might have made a 10-inch difference? I suspect the answer is maybe.
That was so close. I bet Jim Harbaugh thinks he didn't make it.
There were people who were around me who were saying they weren't sure. It was like Trayanum's got kind of held up. His knees didn't touch. You sort of thought his knees are going to touch in 3, 2, and then they didn't actually touch, and then the ball went over the line. So it was clearly a touchdown. And Ohio State, the way Ohio State was reacting, Ohio State knew it was a touchdown. You could tell that the coaches up in the booths were like, "Oh yeah, that's good." And Notre Dame has a beautiful video board. And there were times when they didn't show the replay, and I'm like, I know what that means. Let's Fort Wayne Buckeye. Let's get another one so we don't stack them up too much. Fort Wayne Buckeye, all hail Kyle McCord and Emeka Ibuka. We talked a little bit about Kyle McCord already. This was like the Emeka Ibuka game at points.
Well, if we're going to do if Notre Dame is going to do everything they can to contain Marvin Harrison, you go to the next guy, and boy, he came up clutch. He was not happy with the touchdown that he did not catch that got overturned.
I also wasn't, because I had a real good picture of it. The whole first half was me getting great pictures of stuff, and then the play getting overturned on a penalty or a replay or something. 7 catches, 96 yards, 11 targets, just along of 23. But those were. It felt. How often did it feel like it was 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7, and there's Emeka Ibuka for 12 yards?
Yeah, I'm imagining if that touchdown gets overturned.
Yeah.
And then the Big Ten tells Ryan on Monday. Then yeah, sorry, that I wonder if he would take any solace in that time.
Yeah, I suspect he would not. Here's a look at the Kyle McCord's targets. And Cade Stover, man, it was the Cade Stover game for a while. It was the Emeka Ibuka game for a while.
Kyle McCord has tried to make it the Cade Stover game when it didn't need to be. He was really forcing it in there at times.
But I think that's also, and the picture of Marvin Harrison there, that's the one that got overturned on replay. It's like, this is the perfect picture. And then
did the ball move?
I think I saw one replay on the board where I thought, unlike the scoreboard, I didn't have access to TV feed. I saw one on the scoreboard where it looked like maybe the ball was a little loose when it was loose, and then he hit his back out of bounds. So it wasn't that he didn't complete the catch; it was that he didn't complete the catch in bounds. I think that's what it got overturned on. Yeah, there's the picture. That's that play. Yeah, incomplete. Yeah, it was. Spiritually, it should have been a completed pass.
Now you got to throw it away.
Yeah, exactly. Never. That's
trash.
Why we can't even use it on the post-game show. Super chat from Mike Farino. Ibuka had an amazing game, but I can't help but wonder what our game would have looked like had he caught that touchdown pass to end the half. Also, can Indy stop injuring our best wide receiver?
Hey.
I had that thought. It was like, boy, I've seen this game before. It's low scoring. Ohio State's best wide receiver, who they're counting on for the whole year, goes out with what looks like a real serious injury. And then Xavier Johnson does something in the second half that's a really big play. It's like, I've seen this one.
I think they learned from 1995 and 1996 when they let Terry Glenn and Demetrius Stanley go off on him. They're like, we're not letting this happen again.
Yeah. And that was, I didn't have a great view of it. I had a ref between me and I have a picture of the guy falling on his ankle, and it
didn't look good.
It didn't. It looked real bad. But then he obviously came back in the game, and he left with a big bag of ice taped around his right ankle. But hey, this is what a good time for a week off. Super chat from Jimmy Kramer. Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate your support.
Thank you for watching.
Mike Smith says they only had 10 on both of the last two plays. They didn't even notice and get a guy in there after the first play at the 1.
Why? It worked the first time. Why? Don't change it. Don't. Hey, if it's working, don't jinx it. Don't.
Do you know how many coaches are up in the box? You have coaches up in the box who are responsible for nothing but refilling the beverages of the coaches in the front.
They still had timeouts, right? They could have called a timeout.
They, I think, had one left. We got to talk about Ohio State's timeout usage. I have some thoughts.
Hey, it worked out.
It sure did. That was
It saved the game.
That was the Ohio State coaching staff and the Notre Dame coaching staff playing knifey spoony. The last I'm gonna out questionable decision you. Mike says Ransom and Styles in that 4th down stop in the first quarter. That was a big hit. That was the one that was Sam Hartman, right? Was that a Sam Hartman keeper, or am I thinking of a different one? It kind of went off the left end.
Yeah, it was what Youngstown State kind of did.
Yeah,
that worked.
Sawyer almost had him in the backfield.
Yeah. Tom, did you see my tweet? It was Lathan Ransom and Sonny Styles 86 that 4th down attempt. I
don't get it. Super chat from Spicy Leonardo 2 or Spicy Leonardo the 2nd. I'm going to say, please. My father is Mr. Leonardo. Call me Spicy. LJ has failed to develop JT and Sawyer. JT and Jack have 13.5 sacks combined in 3 years. Pass rush is Maryland level -1 play. Who can replace LJ? Now, I think this is a game where you look at this game. the stats aren't necessarily there. But right now you're seeing the results are there. If they get gashed again by Michigan, you have that conversation. Right now, the defense this year has been significantly improved, far, far improved. And I think, this is, I know everyone wants to fire everyone all the time, but when you're getting this kind of results, I think keep, don't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Well, I will say at this point now they're giving up 11 points per game. But when you sign all of these 5-star guys, you expect, we count sacks. We look at those sacks. And you can't, we say it 1,000 times, you can't expect to get Chase Young production out of guys that aren't Chase Young. These aren't Bosa's. But I think it's fair to want Sam Hubbard, Tyquan Lewis type of impact. And they statistically have not gotten that. Even, Sam Hubbard would, TFLs and Tyquan Lewis is defensive lineman of the year. If one of these guys gets it, they're going to have to do more than they're doing now. But still, it's 11 points per game that they're giving up, and it starts up front. I will say Notre Dame ran for about 176 yards, and I would have thought that would have been enough to win it. Because, and maybe
but they Estime ran 14 carries, 70 yards. That's 5 yards per carry. Jeremiah Love, 7.1. Price, 7.3. Jabron Payne, 3 yards per carry. But 4.5 yards per carry. If I told you before the game, Ohio State is going to outrush Notre Dame on a yards per carry basis, it's only 4.7, 4.5. But Notre Dame, to have Notre Dame with not a great offensive line, but a good offensive line, and a good offensive line with some great parts. That feels like a win to me. I still think there are some questions in terms of the marriage of the front and the back end of the defense. I think those are legitimate questions to ask. Just, until you have a game where JT Tuimoloau had made 2 incredibly big plays. I mean,
he dropped interceptions.
He had a sack. He did drop an interception, yes, technically. But those were 2 of the biggest plays of the game. So they have 13 and a half sacks over the last 3 years. Okay. But that's, how many sacks did he have in the Penn State game last year? Did he have 1, maybe?
Like 2.
He has made impactful plays in so many different ways. Yeah, they both have. Yeah. Jack Sawyer has been an impact player the last couple of weeks, even if it hasn't been
100%.
Yeah.
Get some super chats.
Super chat from Jimmy Kramer. That's the Indy had 10 men on the field the last 2 plays, with the first one immediately after a Notre Dame timeout. The Freeman quote is not good. I did not hear the Marcus Freeman quote.
No.
Okay. Gavin Whitaker heard Day might step down at the end of the season. What have you heard? Great nail biter today, though. I'm not sure why Ryan Day would step down at the end of the season. He's as came out this week, doing just fine financially, and now just had a big win. I don't think there's any. I've heard Nick Saban's name in that conversation a lot more.
Yeah, that's Lane Kiffin saying it.
Yeah, well, the idea that the Lee Corso spot on game day might be open. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's going to happen.
Reaper over there.
Yeah.
Joey B. McCord is so bipolar. 1 minute he's terrible, and the next minute he's unbelievable. Can't wait to see what he'll mold into after this one.
Hey, it's like having JT Barrett all over again.
He's young. I think that's what he is. He's young.
Inexperienced.
Inexperienced.
He's a junior.
Okay. He's inexperienced. This is to come into this venue. It was loud.
Yeah.
That was raucous. And what was your estimate on the crowd? Because 20% Ohio State, maybe. I think we've learned a valuable lesson about vivid seats as a source. But that was a big time environment.
Yeah.
That was a, like we said earlier, you had the moment's too big for them. And you would understand if the moment was too big for them. It's your 5th start, you're on the road, it's national TV, it's prime time, historic venue, veteran defense. I mean, everything is stacked against you. And you have 2 just absolute clunkers on the first 2 throws of that drive. It was like, oh, okay, well, that's too bad. This was almost a really exciting game. And then he leads them down the field. So, yeah, you're going to be inconsistent because you're inexperienced, but you got through this one. And now you've got a week off, and then you've got a couple, tests, but not real tests before you get to your next real test.
You know how I know this was a really good game? I never once looked at our bold predictions. I never even gave it a thought.
Wow, I won by that much, huh?
Super chats.
Super chat from Jordan Kapler. Well, I lost my bet. When am I moving, Kevin?
There's a story behind that.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Give you the version. Basically, he said that he was going to bet his mortgage and that he would need to move in with me, and I said he'd have to be my maid. And he said, okay, so I guess I'm going to have a conversation with my wife about this.
And you're going to have to go outfit shopping.
But he's my butler. Super chat from Mark Fetters. I'm pumped. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4 exclamation points.
Well, that's Ryan Day level of pumped.
That is pretty pumped. Yes, that is pretty pumped. Mike Farino says, question, even if Marvin's fully cleared to play in 2 weeks versus Maryland, do you hold him out? Use him as an emergency option only, not like he needs the reps. Maryland is a good enough team that I don't think you're. If this was Youngstown State in 2 weeks, yeah, sure. Maryland is probably the 4th best team in the Big Ten East.
Yeah, it's not a hamstring, so hopefully it won't linger like Jackson Smith and Jigba. But if he's good to go, and both Kevin and I were like one eye on the game, the other eye on the tent, waiting for Marvin to come out, and then. He did. He was hopping around. He's like, jogging back and forth, trying to get his helmet back so he can come back into the game. If he can go, he's gonna go. But yeah, I don't think you want to take Maryland lightly at this point.
No. I mean, does everyone remember the Maryland game last year? That
or any recent ones,
Maryland in Maryland is different than Maryland in Columbus. But super chat from Mike Smith. Do we know who won bold predictions? I know someone had 4th down failure for both teams. Tony, what had 2 thumbs and had picked both teams to have a 4th down failure? This guy.
That was a 2-pointer, I think. Maybe a 3.
No.
Nobody cares. Take that super chat off. No super chats about the bold predictions. Anyway, strike that.
I had Trevian Henderson scores 2 touchdowns. I don't think that happened. Again, this game was a complete blur. Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers combined for 20 tackles or more.
He only had like 2 in the 3rd quarter.
Oh, well, Jesse Mirko downs 2 punts inside the 10, including 1 inside the 5. I don't know if they did that.
That may have happened, actually.
It was close.
There was one inside the 5.
Yes, but I think there was one that got down on the 11, but I don't. It's yeah. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Don't worry. If I won, I will make sure to let Tony know.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Are we caught up on the super chat?
No, okay. Mike Smith says Freeman said they knew but didn't have enough time after the incomplete pass to get the 11th guy out there. LOL. Take that for what you will. Okay, so presumably you can't get the 11th guy out there because he's going to be
jump offsides.
Well, yeah. If you take an intentional offsides because at that point the difference is that. Yeah, you're on the 1 yard line. So, okay, you're going to give up a foot,
but
all right,
you can't convey that to the players because that's not really. If you don't have enough time to call a timeout, how are you going to convey that to the players to jump off sides? And they're not thinking there's only 10 guys out here.
Yeah.
So that's just that's something that can't be allowed to happen. That situation can't happen because now you're stuck with it. And maybe they'll get over it eventually. I'm sure.
Maybe. I was halfway through that game and thinking, man, the anti-Big Ten ref conspiracy theories are going to be flying fast and furious. Brian Laguerre says if Notre Dame runs the ball 3 times, they win. OSU had 1 timeout. Yeah. Yes. If they had run, I think Notre Dame probably needed to pick up 2 first downs. But if they pick up 2 first downs on the ground, it's over. That's it.
I think I tweeted in the 3rd quarter, late in the 3rd, like Notre Dame does not need to throw anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Just continue to run the ball.
Yeah.
And when you throw it, again, they were effective, but until they weren't.
Yeah. Dave K wants to know, what did Chip do to goof Day in pregame? This is something that I noticed during pregame. Ryan Day always will stand there and with his arms folded, be watching very, very seriously, watching the wide receivers run streaks and the quarterbacks are trying to throw the ball to them. And he's watching very seriously. And Chip Cranham has gotten to the point where now, apparently, you asked Day about this after the game. Every game, he will try and come up behind Day and just kind of like get up, like jump scare him basically. And it was very funny. I hadn't noticed this before, but I'm thinking, okay, he feels like Day's a little tight, big game. Sure, you're just gonna. And Day's reaction was like he laughed. He thought it was really funny. Like he thought it was like very clearly. Like I think of who was it, Percy Harvin, who spanked Urban Meyer on the sideline in the end of that national championship game where they beat Clemson. I think it might have been Percy Harvin, and Urban turns around and does not have a look, does not have a whimsical look on his face. Did not take that in the spirit in which it was probably intended. Day very much like found it amusing. So it's just something that Chip Trainham is doing now. And
what a story that Chip Trainham has become. Now, he talked in the. I think everybody watching the stream got to see him, but we did not get to see him because we jumped out of the room.
Yeah.
That guy. The team loves that dude, and he obviously, when you'll do anything for the team and you'll move positions and stuff, obviously you feel the same. He feels the same way that they do about him.
Yep. Brian Laguerre says Penn State and Michigan licking their chops. I mean, maybe. I mean, did you see what Michigan did today?
Well, they scored 31 straight against Rutgers.
That's. I mean, which of their unimpressive performances has been the most impressive to you? Because. They play, I mean, they play, this is the fourth in a row of a. What did we learn? Nothing.
Yeah.
Why did we do this? Well,
who are we?
Contractually, we have to use the stadium so many times a year. Otherwise, we lose. It's like we lose our copyright if you don't use the material.
Well, and as Ryan Day says, in these matchup games, just win it. It does. Yeah. That's all you have to do, and then you move on to the next one. Those games, Penn State has no bearing. This game has no bearing on Penn State or Michigan. Yeah. They're all separate entities.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that this ends up being a better win than Michigan has at any point this year, because Michigan only has 2 chances to get a win this good.
I will also say that Ryan Day saying that this ends the narrative is not true.
No.
You have to beat Michigan.
No. Yeah, you have to beat Michigan, yes. It's like a final boss.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, Ryan Day, but the princess is in another castle. Mike Smith says, right now, I'm just imagining Notre Dame fans are a living version of the Rose meme from Titanic, where she says it's been 84 years. Fryer's penalty was huge.
Oh, come on.
Okay, go ahead. Josh Fryer, I remember Josh Fryer committing a penalty. I cannot for the life of me remember what he did.
He finished the block, and the guy was on the ground, and he continued to finish the block.
Was that what they called?
That was what they called.
I watched the replay, and I'm like, was it a cut? Did someone call for a chop block?
As I tweeted, if that is a penalty, then Orlando Pace would have been penalized for about 135 yards per game.
That was
in one of the Big Ten championship games against Northwestern on an early series. They call it very sporadically.
That was.
Now, he didn't have to jump on him.
Yeah.
But you see that all the time.
Was he blocking the quarterback? That's what that was?
Yeah, that's what that was.
There was another one, the early one on Davis and Igbenogson, I think it was Davis and Igbenogson, where they picked up the flag. It was like that was a dumb thing to do, but also that was a pretty soft call, and they picked that one up. That's another one that's like, this is a real big game. You really want to be making that kind of an impact in the game.
And that was a huge kind of call. That may have been. That could have cost Ohio State the game.
Greg says, did Jean-Baptiste solidify the LJ retirement? I mean,
I heard his name quite a bit.
Yeah. He has been really good for Notre Dame this year. Absolutely. And, I mean, is he going to win? Is he going to be an All-American this year? No. I mean, he was always a rotation guy for Ohio State, but would you pick Javonte Jean-Baptiste over JT Tuimoloau or Jack Sawyer? I don't think I would.
Or Caden Curry or Kenyatta Jackson.
How about Caden Curry as the goal line fullback for one play? I looked at that and I was like, is this something where they have someone wearing a different jersey? Well,
because I'm upstairs. Is that 92 or is that 82? It's like that's not. No, Sam Hart is 81. I don't.
Yeah.
Then I'm looking trying to.
David Adolph, a walk-on wide receiver, is 82. Yeah.
Like looking at the scorecard, like holding your way back because the print is so tiny. But I did not like that. I didn't like bringing the entire defense to the line of scrimmage. I get it. Ryan Day is trying to just show everybody we are tough. We are going to smash in there, and we are going to do this. but they're not very good at that aspect of it. The Bison package and all of that. This was, I don't know what they call the next level up from the Bison, the double Bison. I don't know, but the Mastodon. Thank you, Kevin. It did not work. It was not as effective. And then what they do at the end, they just run it up the middle and win it with chip train against 10 guys. But who's counting?
Yeah.
It's certainly not Notre Dame.
Mike Farino says, I think the issue was the force that he used to Fryer. Had he just laid on him, he would have been fine. I mean, yeah, again, is that one where the play's still going on? It wasn't a late hit.
Yeah.
Where you are in the game, is that a penalty you want to call on either team? This is not, you can't call a penalty. I don't know how to say. Is that a penalty you want to call on either team in a moment when it's that impactful in this close a game where you want to have a chance that this call, which is like, is going to be one of the deciding factors?
It is if your family is watching the game and they haven't seen you throw a flag yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
or if your family has traveled to the game. My family has never seen me ref before. They're here. I want to give them something to remember me by. I believe I'm in the program also.
Do you think refs' families paint their faces with alternating black and white stripes vertically?
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Now I kind of want to do that for a game. Except the problem is the refs are always getting in my way down on the sideline. I'm just like, sir, I do not need another picture of your butt. I would like to get a picture of the football happening on the other
Somebody
side
else's
of your
butt.
Yes.
For once, please.
Yes. Mike Smith says the refs were bad tonight. From Marv's catch to the Fryer call, watching Notre Dame hold the receivers down the field, it just wasn't very good. There were some missed calls. There were some missed calls on both sides, and there was a real bad pass interference on Davis Nignosin did not get called, and then there was the next play. Mike Hall gets basically like a hook, so then he got chicken winged. So then hook, and then. So that's right. And then the next play, they threw at Davis Nignos, and it was like flag was coming out before like the snap, basically. I mean, I don't think the officials decided the game.
No.
So, if you are running out 10 players on back-to-back plays in the crucial game-deciding moment of the game, you don't get to blame anyone else. Like, blame the fact that you're out of fingers.
No, and Ryan Day wouldn't have been able to blame the refs if they don't pick up because they didn't pick up the first down with the Emeka end around. Both teams did enough to cost themselves this game. I don't think there's any argument there.
Yeah, Brian Laguerre says the guy was on the ground and he WWE slammed him. I mean,
he finished the block on top of him. We see it all the time.
Yeah, that's not one that if it happened to Ohio State, we would be saying right now, how could you miss that?
How did you? Yeah.
You don't want to decide the game on that kind of call. Dave K says, "Is Notre Dame good? D impressed. Hartman did not. My wife thinks he's handsome though, for what it's worth." Boy, there were some shirtless pictures of Sam Hartman, like photoshopped shirtless pictures of Sam Hartman at the game day set.
Was it Brady Quinn's body?
If only, Tony. If only. It was half Brady Quinn's body. And half,
No.
It was. I mean, Hartman. There's a reason Sam Hartman is playing his 6th year of college football. He does not have the C.J. Stroud arm.
Right.
He does not have the Trevor Lawrence, full package. He's just a solid veteran quarterback college who will take everything you can give him. Like he stood back in the pocket and it was like he's back there and it was like, is this 5 seconds in the pocket, 6 seconds in the pocket? And then inevitably someone would come open and he'd find him. He had one where he just like sort of shot putted it out and it was just like that was the ugliest looking pass. It looked like this is a terrible mistake. And okay, first down. Just he is just the wily veteran. He's the, you remember like Jamie Moyer at the end of his career. It's like who was the pitcher in Major League who just load the ball? Eddie Sutton? No, that was a basketball coach.
Eddie Oldman.
Yeah, with the Crisco. Yeah, that's. I mean, he's not quite that, but he's kind of that. He's a lot closer to that than he is to like a C.J. Stroud. But there's a reason he's been in college football for 6 years and is real high on the top of all these career passing record lists. because he's pretty good at what he does. He's JT Barrett. Like JT Barrett beat a bunch of teams over the years, and you could look at JT Barrett and go, well, he wasn't doing anything in the pros. Like, yeah, okay, but there's a reason he played that long.
Are you saying touchdown Jesus couldn't hit a curveball?
I'm not sure if Joe Boo is Catholic or not. Mike Farino says, just want to point out, apparently USC still doesn't know what defense is. ASU with Drew Pine is stopping themselves more than USC is. I don't know what the score is of that game. ASU is down to 9 healthy scholarship offensive linemen, and Drew Pine, who was the other Notre Dame quarterback last year who transferred out.
21-13.
21-13 in the second half. Oh boy, that's
not good.
It's not great. It is not.
They were like
speaking what you want.
30-point or something.
34-5, I think. They were a huge favorite. Michael KD 8JIJ. Now the stripe face musing actually made me laugh out loud for the first time in a long time. Thanks. You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in.
Anything we can do for you. Brian Laguerre, watch again. He was already down, then slandered.
Yeah, he was down. Yes. He was.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessary. So yes, it was some unnecessary roughness. But again, it happens a lot.
Simon, thank you for the super chat.
Thank you very much, as always.
All right, we're caught up on super chats.
Well,
all right,
thank you all. Well, I guess that'll do it.
Do we have interviews with? Let me know what we have interview wise, in terms of. Or do we want to do questions first? Let's do questions first. Okay. Why don't you talk to our friends in South Florida and see what we can figure out on the interviews? Let's do some questions. Okay. All right. So Jordan B says jumping USC for sure. Then this is a game where Ohio State should, the way Ohio State got jumped when Ohio State was playing nonsense teams and looking kind of mid, and other teams were picking up big wins. Yeah, Ohio State should move up. This is a good win. This is not blowing out LSU, but this is a good win. Mike Smith says he's the NFL version of Brian Hoyer in college. Fun fact, they are also the same age. Tyler Williams had a good game. Burke locked it down. Yeah, Denzel Burke. I didn't notice Denzel Burke.
I didn't see a single. Did anybody throw at him? Did Sam Harper throw at him once?
Maybe once. I really don't remember it. Tyler Williams had some big plays. Tyler Williams also, every once in a while, we'll talk to someone about Tyler Williams and how athletic he is, and how he's one of the we've heard that he's one of the fastest guys in the first 10 yards, out of the blocks. He's not going to beat you in a 40, but if you're just running 10 yards, it's like getting chased by a crocodile or whatever. You don't, he's not going to run a marathon with you, but he can catch you if you're close. That's kind of Tyler Williams. There was a play where Tyler Williams did something good and then jumped up in the air, and I'm like, how does something that big get that high up? And it was whoa. I mean, noticeably crazy, freaky athletic. It's been in there all this time, and it's nice to finally it's starting to come together.
He's certainly coming into his own. He's blossoming, and he's becoming the player that we saw against Akron as a true freshman.
Yeah. Troy V says, I think they threw at Burke once, and I think that's right. I kind of have this vague recollection of him maybe in coverage, and I don't think it was completed.
That last drive for Notre Dame, Denzel Burke was getting on his team, on the field. It's pointing it's down to us. We can win this right here, and he fired him up, and JT Tuimoloau, that was I think the big tackle for loss on Sam Hartman that led there.
Dave K says Buckeye Huddle is the full package. Thank you. We appreciate it. Mike Farino says Igmanosin was the worst player on defense. Was really wondering why they didn't try out Hancock there at any point. And I know he had a couple flags.
He's a physical
and
guy.
There was one where was he the guy who there was a pass in the zone, and I think that they ran a little slant or something inside him. I think that was him in coverage there. Got down maybe to the 1 yard line. I don't have a great vantage point on who's where at all times, especially downfield behind the line and linebackers and all that. Did he have that rough of a night?
He had a penalty, but if you look at how many drives did he keep alive with penalties, I don't know that it was many, but I also thought Jordan Hancock must have done really well in the nickel because you didn't really see a lot of he wasn't giving up much. We've seen him chasing before.
Yeah.
He was not chasing.
Yeah.
So I don't think they want to mess with anything right now because it's working.
Sue says 2 guys saved our bacon tonight, JT and Julian Fleming. Talk a little about JT. Julian Fleming, there were a couple times that I thought, if they're doubling Marv on every play, why are you not just taking a shot to Julian Fleming? And they really didn't. But he's another guy who knows for more than, and I don't think we've said Julian Fleming's name yet.
No, and I was wondering when we would start to see him, and then Kyle did throw deep to him a couple of times there at the end. It was weird that he was so uninvolved, because you would think it doesn't just have to be Emeka, Marvin, and Kate Stover.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was surprised that he wasn't more involved, and he was almost invisible at times. G. Scott, I don't think he played a little, but they didn't do as much 12 as I was expecting, and so just overall a pretty odd offensive day. What happens if they don't get that 61-yarder from Travion? That was half their yards.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame ran the ball better than Ohio State, even though Ohio State may have had a higher yards per carry. Notre Dame was the more efficient, more consistent running attack.
Yes, but really more. I mean, I don't know that was necessarily true for the first 3 quarters because it felt like Estime was just constantly getting stuffed for 2 yards or 1 yard or something like that for the first half. It felt like everyone other than Estime was running better. Love was running better than Estime was. And we've talked about the fact that Estime is the kind of back that Ohio State has typically not gotten killed by. They typically are kind of control that type of back better than some of the other types of backs. But, once it felt to me more like Ohio State wore down, and that's when Notre Dame started running the ball a lot better. We have to look up the halftime stats. Like, what was the yards per carry for Notre Dame in the first half? I bet it's lower than it was in the second.
The third quarter touchdown drive for Notre Dame, they ran 10 times for 54 yards, and there was like an 18-yarder, a 16-yarder, 7, and they were just moving the defensive line, and that's why it was so impressive that Ohio State's defense was able to eventually stop that. And thank you for throwing the ball.
Yeah,
that's one where the coordinator there is going to be kicking himself as well. But you've got a 6-year quarterback, so
right. You assume he's going to make those plays. Mike Farino says wasn't really about his flags. His wide receiver is consistently the one getting the ball, though. It wasn't atrocious, but left a lot to be desired in coverage. I did. Yep. And that's. I guess I'm going to vote present on this one and go rewatch the game. This feels like a week when we're going to do the rewatch show on Wednesday for Buckeye, and it's going to be the 747 things we noticed rewatching Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Because there's a bunch of stuff that I'm still thinking, oh yeah, we need to talk about that.
That Travion Henderson run, I think Kevin mentioned it while we were watching it live. It looked like he wanted to hurdle. It was like, you know what? I'm going to stay on the ground, see what happens.
Well, there was someone who I thought was going to get him right at the end, and he didn't. And
he turned on the Jets.
He's someone who, Ryan Day had a little bit of answer my critics kind of game in some ways, and Travion Henderson had it as well, because Travion Henderson is someone who gets the reputation of goes down on first contacts. Like people have said that about him for a long time, and it's like I don't know that that's really a fair assessment, but he had some tough runs tonight. They pulled him off the field in some goal line situations. Obviously, they last played the game, but he's someone who I think they've sort of figured out what they can do with him that really puts him in a position to use his talents, because he's a very talented player. But you're not going to be the speed back and also be the power back. That is a very unusual combination if you have someone who can do both of those things. But he has a very defined role at this point. It feels like he's, been a very, very important part of this, part of this offense. What's next?
This is Mike Farino.
We did. Yes, we did that one. Yep.
Right. Sue reiterated there.
Yep. Sue.
Right.
Thank you, Sue. K7, how is Ransom at 150 pounds the DB that hits people? Not 150 pounds, but
he's probably 205-ish.
Yeah.
Listed like that.
But he can lay the lumber.
Yeah, there was one. He hit somebody. I'm like, that looked like Tommy Eichenberg. And then you watch the replay. Oh no, that was Lathan Ransom just coming up. And that dude, he can hit. Let's talk about Josh Proctor and Lathan Ransom, because all week long I was harping on the play action stuff. They held up. They did.
Yeah.
They did just fine.
Yeah, and I mean here's a look at the stats. Lathan Ransom 13 tackles, 7 solos. Josh Proctor 7 tackles, 5 solos. Davison Ignosin 6 tackles, 2 solos, half of the TFL. Sonny Styles 6 tackles, 3 solos. Steel Chamber 6 tackles. JT Tuimoloau 6 tackles. That's a big day for JT Tuimoloau. 5 for Tommy Eichenberg. I mean,
Tom,
I didn't realize that Lathan Ransom had 13 tackles. That's a big day.
Well, I see a bunch of safety tackles, and you know what they say when you have a bunch of safety tackles, it's not good news.
That typically is not
That's
great news
176 yards rushing, or whatever it was. It's just the fact that they kept them out of the end zone.
Yeah,
and that's the lesson that Jim Knowles has learned from last year. It's no longer baking anything in. It's let's keep them out of the end zone, make them earn it. They earned it twice.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at these game stats here, just a team by team comparison. Everyone's going to say time of possession, and I'm going to say shut up. But the 2 of 4 in the red zone for Ohio State. That's not to go on the road against a good opponent and go 2 of 4 in the red zone and win. That's pretty amazing. The other thing that's interesting: 240 yards passing for Kyle McCord, 175 for Sam Hartman. There's a way that Kyle McCord way outpasses him, and it's bad news for Ohio State.
Yeah.
This was like just the right amount of passing.
This might have been right in your wheelhouse of your Kyle McCord bold prediction.
It was a little low. I had him at 280 or something like that.
Oh gosh.
Mike Farino says Trey also almost broke for a touchdown on the failed first down of the failed 4th down sequence. Was just barely tripped up. Would have been a touchdown if he could have kept his balance.
Yes, for sure. And that one was going to be a touchdown. It was a little bit of a nick on the ankle, on the foot, and it was enough. But yeah, I thought he was gone there as well.
Okay, caught up. All right. Okay, let's pop some other questions in there then. Stephen Harvell says Fleming may also be the best blocking receiver in the country. Too bad he plays wide receiver.
Time to bulk him up into a tight end. Then he would get the football.
He would.
If he plays tight end. Yeah. He's an unsung, unselfish guy that everybody needs. I remember Evan Spencer being the MVP.
Exactly the comp I was
the
about
Alabama
to make.
game or whatever. That just you do whatever it takes. You do whatever you're asked to do. Everybody notice it. You'll see it. It'll carry you. You don't need 1,400 yards receiving to be seen by the people who need to see this sort of stuff. So you need guys like him on the team.
Robert says the run defense will need to get better, but to hold them to 14 is impressive. This is not a finished product, but to hold them to 14 is impressive. That's a big time performance. And this is, would Ohio State fans be feeling better if this game was 38-35 or what 17-14 was what it ended up? I mean, which one are you feeling better about if you're an Ohio State fan?
You have to feel better about this one because you won it in a way that you have not won games before.
Right. Yeah. You have shown this is you are showing you can win in more than one way. It does not have to be the weather's great and you're on good turf and everything's great and there's not too much wind and you're going to score a lot of points and then you'll outscore the opponent who's also going to score points. Like this was you can do it a different way, which for a team that's had defensive questions, the defense has kept them from winning national titles 3 years in a row, basically every year since 2019. This year, maybe not. We'll see. Sorry, it is. We've been talking a lot. It turns out. Mike Farino, wonder how much the one-play touchdown drive affected the defense in the third quarter. They had absolutely no time to recover. That's true. Where Travion Henderson has the one-play drive, and then the defense goes right back out there, and that was, time of possession is a stat that I really don't care for. it's more, number of plays rather than time off the clock. But you had a bunch of plays right in a row there with the two, the back-to-back drives with just one play in the middle. That is going to mess with your defense and wear you down. And, you did see that team wear down. That was... I'm not going to have the view that I want on this. That's all right. Blake says, too bad this game broke the 20-point scoring streak. I didn't think about that. I guess that's true. This is the first time they have not scored 20 points since, the Clemson?
Is it really?
Fiesta Bowl, I think.
I was not.
Or was it? Did they score 20 against Oklahoma in 2017? I mean, that's only a difference of like 2 games, but yeah. I got to tell you, I don't think Ryan Day was thinking about that on the field after the game.
No.
That's one of those fun facts that...
That's why I'm saying, like, you've won this game in a different way. You've won in this game in a way that people said you haven't. However, 90% of the pundits picking Notre Dame because you don't win games like this. You haven't. And now you've gone out and done it. And this gives everybody confidence. And whether or not it manifests itself against Michigan, at least now you have proof of concept that, hey, we can win the tough games. We can win the game where we have to have a 65-yard drive or whatever it was and the final 90 seconds of a game. And you can do it when you are backed up and you have a third and long. Like they had 4 third downs on that final drive. And the amount of pressure that they were under that they dealt with, I think, is something that you build on. It's something that everybody rallies around. Kyle McCord, the offensive line gains strength from this. So just a lot of confidence and not false confidence because you've gone out there and done it. And it's just an understanding of your capabilities as well.
Yeah. Mike Frito says Marcus Freeman now has as many L's as Day, which he's coached. This is his second year. He's, a year and 5 games now. That's, and that tells you, number one, Marcus Freeman had a real rough start to last year. They had one of those like highlight videos on there, and there was a picture or video of a Notre Dame player hitting someone from Marshall. It's like, I don't know that you want to put that up there. That's not bringing back happy memories for anyone here.
Big win.
Steven says, Cod of Shame update. I got at least a couple.
Yeah, I don't remember anything other than McCord throwing for 100 yards more than Hartman, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Trey doubling up on Audric Estime. I don't know if he did that or not.
This is we've been just running around all day. So I'm like, I see someone comment something about Alabama. I'm like, oh, what happened to Alabama today? Mike Smith, Iowa had 76 total yards today, with 56 of it being through the air. It could be so much worse for us. If used properly, this game could pay off later. Final score from Happy Valley, Tony. Penn State 31, Iowa 0.
What was the over-under?
The over-under was like 36.5 or 38.
And last week they got 41 points, I believe, against Central Michigan. And Western Michigan, whoever they played last week. And so then he was over his magic number of 25 points per game. He is now back under his magic number of 25 points per game. That is...
getting
Tony,
shut out.
Tony, we this would be a great transition to some of the choices that were made in the game. I don't even know where to begin. The one that springs to mind is Ryan Day having a timeout, watching Notre Dame run the ball on third down. It's 4th and a mile, and he watches them run the play clock all the way down and doesn't take a timeout. Every person who has ever played video game football knows you use your timeouts on defense. This is not like, you don't need to be this like great ball knower. You have to understand, when I have the ball, I can control how much time runs off the clock. When they have the ball, I can't control how much time runs off the clock. I look at that and I think, certainly he knows this. I think he is doing too much. I think he needs to either stop calling plays or have someone who is just his czar of, hey, here's the coach stuff you should be doing right now. Because you can't do everything all at once. There's too much going on. He is not ready to let go of the play calling. Okay, that's fine. You got to have someone to do that because he's not an idiot. But that's not how you manage that situation.
And yet, what happens if they don't have that timeout?
They have 35 more seconds, and then the 10-second runoff doesn't matter. You still have 25 extra seconds on the clock because that's how it works. That's why you call timeouts on defense.
I'm with you. I think I was surprised he didn't. I think this is something they talk about beforehand. How much time do we need? They wanted to save that timeout in case anything bad happens, and something bad did happen.
Something bad happening, such as 35 extra seconds running off the clock.
There is that, but I think 90 seconds is enough time to move down the field with a timeout or without a timeout.
Yeah, 90 seconds is enough time to move down the field with a timeout. You know what is enough time to move down the field without a timeout?
2 minutes and 5 seconds?
Roughly, yes. As a matter of fact, as it works out, yes.
Yeah, and again, both teams could have given this game away a couple of times. Ohio State was fortunate that Notre Dame wanted to give it away more.
It was there were we talked about the 4th and 1 end around to Emeka Egbuka. That was like a what? This is what? The timeout was bizarre. The Notre Dame had a couple. I mean, the throwing the ball when you just needed to run the clock out. That was bizarre.
I'm sure
opting for 10 players on the field twice.
Marcus Freeman probably says we were trying to win the game. You're trying to get that first down and it's over. That sort of thing. But if you continue to run the ball,
if you have been running the ball directly at them, the last 2 drives for 24 plays combined and 14 minutes off the clock, guess what probably still works?
Yeah, super chat
for Mike Perino. Travion had 104. Audric 70.
That's double. Oh, I thought it said 140.
Anyway. Do we have another question?
Yeah.
Here we go. Red Legs. Getting upset about a 90-year-old man calling you soft means you're absolutely soft. And here's the thing. He wasn't getting annoyed about Lou Holtz wasn't calling Brian Day soft. He was calling the Ohio State football team soft. That's different. That's you can say what you want about me, but don't talk bad about my kids, kind of thing. Like that. I get it. I thought I was surprised at the level of enthusiasm of the response.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a guy defending his players. It's what. It's funny. It's it's what some fans want you to see, but then when it happens, it's like,
no, not like that.
Right. You should just ignore it and move on. It's like he didn't want to move on. He didn't want to ignore it. He wanted to continue to talk about it and defend his players and tell them, and he kept saying it was one half of football. It was one half of football against Michigan that has created this narrative. And he's like, go find more of this film. Go show me on film where else this narrative is.
I mean, does the last 8 minutes of last year's Michigan game not count because it wasn't extended drives and it was just 75 yards at a time?
I think so. It's missing one tackle, against Donovan Edwards, that sort of thing.
Okay. Okay. Evan from Heaven says, honestly, thank God for this bye week. They're going to need time to come down from this dramatic win. They're also going to need time to just heal up. That was a hard-hitting football game. There was a defensive starter who, as they were walking out from the locker room, was saying to someone else, I'm going to need to just have a whole body ice bath tomorrow. That was a hard-hitting football game. And, Marvin Harrison's ankle and everyone is going to want to take, go ahead. Normally they'll say, we're going to enjoy this one tonight and then on to the next one tomorrow. There's a week off. But they said, Ryan Day said, we're going to enjoy this one. And then the sentence ended. And I was like, that's different.
Yeah, I thought Kyle McCord took some shots as well. And, on some of his scrambles, took some head-on collisions and, got up, bounced back, proved some of his toughness as well.
Mike Farino says Holtz called out both Day specifically, but he also mentioned the team. Okay, so there you go.
Well, I mean, it was silly of Lou Holtz to go that much overboard. But again, I also believe there is some part of him that still wants to be relevant, and he's playing a role at this point. He's harkening back to his Mark May days when those two guys they were caricatures, they were clowns, and he's missed that. He's missed the circus, and he's like, you know what? I've got some peanuts. Let me feed some elephants, and boom, let me say some stuff that is going to end up costing. It didn't help things, and not that Ohio State would have been, softer or not as angry or as determined to win this, but I do think they actually were angrier.
Mark Fetter says you could hear the hits on TV. There were a number of them that were like big hits. Markedex says Ryan is feeling the pressure. When you make $10 million a year, you should. Glad to see the emotion.
Yeah, I mean there is a ton of pressure, and this was a weight lifted off of his shoulders. But like I said, it was the happiest we've ever seen him and the most angry we've ever seen him. And it was just weird. It would just depend on the question. It'd be like, the red face or just a smile, and asking him about the Chip Trainum, or when I was asking him about what were you thinking while you're waiting for the replay of Chip Trainum's touchdown. He's just like touchdown. He's just smiling, and then the next question just angry day, happy day. Sun goes up, sun goes down.
And then you're going to walk out, and then you got to ask about the defense. Like, oh, I want to talk
Yeah. That was the best moment of the press conference. Was he's done, he's walking out, and I think it was Rob Aller from the Dispatch said, "Can you talk about the defense?" He's like, "Oh yes, oh right, yes, them, yes."
Thank you to them. Again, 14 points. You'll take that.
Super chat from Dave K. Tony and Kevin, how would you rate Day's promo cut compared to legends like Flair, Hogan, etc.?
You know what? It was pretty good because he was dropping some lines, and I was tweeting some of them out. I don't have them all on me, but basically, like watch the film. You got to put your foot in the ground. At one point, he said, "Hard times, Daddy." He went into the dusty roads.
Lou Holtz put hard times on me, Daddy.
Exactly. Kevin, what did you think?
I thought it was pretty solid. He could join NWO whenever he'd like.
Yeah, at some point you got to put your foot in the ground.
By God, that's Ryan Day's music.
I don't know where that narrative comes from, but that ends tonight.
Yeah. Austin 316 just says, that sort of thing, and he's just pulling out all of these one-liners, and that was the most emotional I've seen him. As you said earlier, it's the most emotional we've seen an Ohio State coach since Urban Meyer in 2017. I don't even know who joins the top three in those two moments. Luke Fickell, did we win?
Yeah.
Which was just a matter of fact more than emotion.
Yeah. Rick wants to know if we picked up any Notre Dame merch. I did not. Oh yeah.
A couple of some pint glasses from the linebacker lounge.
Read from the top of the sign. Sorry, what does it say?
Also got these sweet paper credentials that I was sure were going to rip, and I would be stuck either inside or outside the stadium. I'm not sure.
I had a very handsome photo vest. That was nice. I had to give that back though.
Did you? Were you out like, see my vest? See my vest?
Not any more than I do during a normal game. Mike Smith says, Kevin, did our friend, the Irish fan from Dallas, make an appearance?
Michael Campbell.
No, Michael Campbell.
No. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. This is Notre Dame fans have for the last 30 years, it feels like. Yes, it hasn't worked out in the past, but this time it's going to be different.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This time it darn near was different. Like that is as close as you can come to winning a football game without winning a football game. I mean, it was literally one play, 3 seconds, 1 yard, and one extra guy on the field. That's it. That's how close they came to winning. And if they win, it swings every possible. The narrative around Ohio State is, see, look, they are soft. They can't do it. They can't win in the big moment. Ryan Day folds again. They can't. And then Notre Dame is Marcus Freeman has arrived, and they are that is the big story on every game day, everything. And instead, Notre Dame forgets to count to 11. Ohio State gets Chip Trainum over the line by that much, and then Ryan Day gets to cut a promo on Lou Holtz, And Notre Dame has fallen short yet again in, hey, guess what? They still don't have the skill talent outside. It's a lot of boy, they've got a great line. The quarterback plays better, but they still don't have the skill talent outside. It's like it's the same thing again.
Yeah.
Lucy pulled the football, but she waited until the last possible.
Well, you're right. It's the same thing, and that's what we talked about before the game. That if Ohio State wins this, it's going to be more about Notre Dame is Notre Dame of old and forever the same, rather than what Ohio State was able to do and winning here.
People want to talk. Late joiners want to talk about Notre Dame only having 10 guys out there.
Okay, so we'll circle back on Notre Dame having 10 guys out on the field.
I thought it was sporting.
First of all, from Jeremiah Yoder, Austin 316 says Ohio State just kicked Oder Lames.
Oh,
I'm going to say butt. I've never heard Oder Lame before. I have been on the internet for a long time,
true.
and I have never seen Oder Lame before. That is a new one. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the 10 guys in the field for the folks that twice. Tony, at game day today, there were a bunch of signs about. My favorite one was 34-29. 34 was in green, 29 was in red, and it said score prediction or average ACT score ? Tony, if you're going to make a big point of telling everyone how smart you are, you really need to be able to count to 11. That's a real big thing you got to be able to do.
Bare minimum. Count to 11. I do remember.
It feels like table stakes.
Yeah, Friday when we were on the quad or whatever we were on, and I think it was Michael Campbell saying, just look around, see all these people with money that are walking around, and
I'm starting to figure.
Count.
I'm starting to realize why we have so many financial crises. Maybe is
that's true. Yes, but yes, you have so many people in the press box with binoculars and spotters, and the ability to count should be like. I guess at this point, it's not something you talk about in the interview because this is just assumed.
Well, like every time Ohio State goes out for a placement, I see Jesse Mirko on one knee, and he's pointing, and he's counting, and he's Australian, so he gets to do it. He has to do it backwards,
right.
But you point and you count, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like, of course, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like, okay, do you really have to do this? Yes, you do, because otherwise, every once in a while, you'll have 10, and it's really gonna matter.
Yeah, and it's unacceptable. It's to happen once, you're like, boy, that was stupid. To happen twice is completely unacceptable. And as we talked about, it's in the moment, so you apparently couldn't get a timeout called, and there's 10 guys on the field. They don't know that the 11th guy isn't there. The 11th guy doesn't. He thinks he's the 12th guy because he's on the sideline. And I just wonder where did the lack of communication? What who dropped the ball on that? I guess maybe we'll find out in the midweek interviews or whenever. I don't know what Marcus Freeman had to say about that. It's one of those we'll have to look at the film type of things. We'll have to talk about it as a staff. But,
Tony, what position group was it that was short a player?
I believe it was the defensive line because I don't think anybody was lined up over Josh Simmons. Is that correct? Is that what?
I believe that's right.
Over the left side. Yeah.
And is that Al Washington's?
That's what I was just looking up. Defensive line coach, defensive run game coordinator.
Former Ohio State linebacker coach Al Washington.
Yikes!
That just hit me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I know who their defensive line coach is. And then Al Washington.
The Manchurian coach. Yes, it's Al Washington is coming back. He's back with Ohio State. Al Washington's the third man.
That's not great. That is not great. Dave K wants to know.
Stop taking my lines.
Dave K wants to know what was the final verdict and how many OSU fans were in the stadium. Tony and I both guessed about 20% because there was the side that the TV camera was on, like the TV cameras are on, was all Notre Dame fans. That's like all, I think, season ticket holders. It's where the student section is. That was just a wall of green on that side. So the other side, you had Ohio State fans kind of spaced throughout. It was it was loud enough. There were enough Ohio State fans there it was loud enough that when they showed a replay at one point, I think it was the replay of the Chip Trayanum score at the very end, the cheer was loud enough that I went, oh, did he not score? Because it was like, did a good-sized chunk of the Notre Dame fan base realize he didn't score? No, that was the Ohio State fans. It was not, it was not Ohio State completely taking over the stadium by any means, but also it was not Notre Dame doing this incredible job keeping the barbarians outside the game.
There were some Buckeye fans with some really good seats in this one, right down there on the field near us in the corner, and it just, they had their pockets. They did a very good job. They were felt. They were loud. They enjoyed the post-game atmosphere. The team basically just coming down the sideline, all of the crowd, then going into the tunnel, place was going crazy. Really, overall, just a really cool scene. Really, really good game despite a 17-14 game, a 3-0 at the half. It felt like there were so many big moments because you knew there weren't going to be a lot of points scored. So at any point, this could be it. It's like watching baseball.
Oh yeah, no, it was like watching playoff baseball, and it's it's a 2-1 game, and it's like any hit is a big hit because there haven't been very many hits. Any big play that got you even just into field goal range was a big play because you weren't down in field goal range very much. No one was. And when they were, Notre Dame failed to convert at least once in the red zone, and Ohio State failed to convert twice in the red zone. So, Jordan, truly impressive to see McCord against all odds lead this team when all hope seemed lost down the field to win the game. Yeah,
I think that's a mark of a quarterback that you can rely on. One that isn't always pretty, but finds a way. And that last drive, I think we talked about this before the show. 15 plays, 65 yards, 1 minute and 20-some seconds. I don't even know how that was possible.
I know what all these numbers mean, but they don't make sense together.
Drive.
Yeah. That's the one that Ryan Day is complaining about when other people do it to him. But it was so many incomplete passes. I mean,
I think they picked up 4 third downs on that drive, and their back was against the wall from the outset, and so many third downs. And Kyle McCord was throwing some strikes in there on those plays. I'm looking forward to going back and watching that final drive and seeing the broadcast, how they were reacting to it. I wonder what the narrative is coming out of this game. Is this just seen as Notre Dame just once again failing, or is this seen as Ohio State overcoming?
Yeah, I mean, it's the internet, so everyone's going to focus on the negative. But here's that last Ohio State drive. Incomplete pass, 23-yard pass to Emeka Egbuka, incomplete pass, 3-yard pass to Cade Stover, incomplete pass, 7-yard pass to Julian Fleming, incomplete pass, 19-yard pass to Marvin Harrison, incomplete pass. McCord gets sacked on the intentional grounding play. Completed pass to Emeka Egbuka for 21 yards down to the 1. He spikes it. Throws the incomplete pass to Marvin Harrison, and then Chip Trayanum rushing touchdown.
It feels like you are describing dizzy bat baseball, where sometimes he hits it over the fence.
Yes, yeah. It was just kind of it was all or nothing. Someone called him bipolar earlier, which is because it wasn't just like, oh well, he just barely missed. Some of the incomplete passes were like.
Those first 2 passes.
Did it start raining in just that one end of the stadium? What happened?
Like I said, like an hour ago or whatever, those first 2 passes to Travion made it seem like this was too big of a moment for Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
And then just kept moseying on down the field, kept matriculating the ball down the field.
Here's another one. Matthew Adkins. This is a great example of.
Oh my gosh.
This is a great example of how much crap happened in this game. We've been talking. We've been talking for an hour and 35 minutes or something like that. We have not gotten to the tip drill to Cade Stover. Matthew says it's a shame his knee touched the ground. That was what. Like, I'm shooting this and I'm looking through the camera and the ball goes up and it's like, oh boy, this is going to be real bad. Because generally when the ball goes up right at the line of scrimmage, there are a lot of dudes in green ready to pick it off. And Cade Stover catches it. And I couldn't tell exactly where he was. The depth perception is not great down there. I didn't know where he was, but then he just kind of like spins and keeps running. and there's no whistles. And I'm like, what is going on? There's no way he caught that without, because he was twisted around like a pretzel. But just to make that catch, that was a monster, because that was, I think, third down. I think it was a third down play. That's a huge play, and that's one of those, the crazy play where the quarterback throws it and it gets batted back to him, and then he catches it and runs for a first down. I mean, not quite that, but to catch a deflected pass in such a crucial moment like that, and then have the wherewithal to try and do the Michael Dyer thing, like, no, actually, no, that didn't touch the ground.
I don't even know what happened after that. Was that a scoring drive? This is so long ago. It's so many.
I'm going to have to watch it.
Yeah, I don't know.
The next time I watch the game will be the first time I watch the game.
It's true. The next time, as Kevin said, the next time he watches, it'll be the first time, because there's so much for a 17-14 game. A lot happened, and case in point, us just finally talking about that crazy play.
Uptown Daniel says, "Go check the USC score. Ohio State ranked 6th,
27-21 into 3.
27-21. Hey, speaking of former Ohio State assistants, the Alex Grinch defense. You're always looking for consistency out of your defense, Tony.
Well,
and they have it.
Drew Pine won a lot of games here last year for Notre Dame.
Yeah. Arizona State has, you only need 5 healthy offensive linemen, so they have 9. That's almost twice double. As many as they need. So that seems like, frankly, they're hoarding offensive linemen, if you ask me.
Ever since the pandemic, I abhor hoarding.
Toilet paper and offensive linemen. That is what you open up the equipment shed at Arizona State. It's all it's in there.
All Sanitizer University.
Hold on, I'm just arguing with somebody.
Kevin, not on the internet.
Kevin is arguing with someone.
I thought you said Michael Campbell wasn't here.
Mike says Jeff Hafley should return to Ohio State. I have not looked at what happened to Boston College this week. That's another.
I did not do a great job of keeping track of what was going on this Saturday because of what was going on here at what was really just an incredible place.
BC lost 56-28 to Louisville, so we'll see if Jeff Hafley has a job on Monday. I feel like the position of Ohio State's defensive coordinator is filled until further notice, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if we'll get a chance to talk to or hear from Jim Knowles on this, but he was happy enough to come off the bus and talk to us because he was already on the bus, and Jerry Emmett calls him, "Hey, you want to come talk?" Yeah, shoot, yeah, I'll talk.
Yeah,
I got plenty to talk about. I think even in the post game where Ryan Day is talking and Jerry's like, 2 more questions, and Ryan Day's like, "No, we can hang out for a while.
We're good.
Yeah. Everybody loves to talk after a win."
Mark Federer says Buckeye Huddle Marathon. LOL. Yeah, we're at 2:41 right now.
Is that right?
But we're still. Listen, if you crazy kids want to stay up with us, we'll stay up. We're fine. We got 10,000. Kevin's complaining. Oh.
And he said
tradition unlike any other.
The mountains need the blue, not my skin.
It is a little chilly. It's nice.
Mike Smith says, on that note, how far does Ohio State drop? Because I'm sure this was an ugly win, but others who played in close games just played tough games. That's how this works, right?
And everybody watched it. So
everybody watched it, but this is you got to win, right?
That's what they say.
You play to win the game. I believe I've heard that somewhere before. Speaking of Arizona State football.
Yeah, no, I think it will be interesting to hear what the narrative is, just the thoughts that people have from this. And because it was an incredible game, and the way it ended, the way it almost ended, and the way it eventually ended, this was one that you continue to talk about as you're watching it.
Yep. Mike says, appreciate you guys. We appreciate you
Thank
guys
you
staying up with us.
Yes.
It's
sorry for the late start, but it's not our fault.
Yeah. We can touch on that real quickly. The circus of the setup at Notre Dame is a little different. Notre Dame, the reason we're outside the stadium and not inside the stadium is they close the press box an hour after the game. They do it's all, I think as it was explained to me, it's all volunteers, like the ushers and stuff. So they don't want people inside the stadium afterwards. Normally we just hang out in the stadium, and as long as we're not in the press box, we can do whatever we need to do as long as we need to do it. Here an hour after the post-game press conference is over, the press box closes. No live streaming inside the stadium. You've got to go. So It's a little bit of a fire drill to get out here, get everything set up. I ran out first and was just like holding my phone so we could be like, okay, hi, we're here, we're not dead. But yeah, it was a little bit of a circus. We got a little bit of a late start, but Devin and Garrett and Mark, appreciate them. Great stuff from them earlier. So
and it wasn't an overly long game. It could have been even later, because
it was. I was fully expecting like 2:00 to be, okay, we do it. The show will start at midnight and it'll 11:30, and then it'll be 2:00 or 2:30 or something like that, and it's only 1:30 right now. So
yeah, only 1:30.
Dave K says best part of the presser was when Jerry freaked out when a reporter asked a question and 2 follow-ups. When was that?
Clay.
Oh, Clay.
Yes. You can get away with more stuff after a win.
Oh yeah.
Than you can after a loss. So it's like,
Jordan says McCord being able to play toe-to-toe with Hartman when the lights are brightest, really something to watch. Yeah, I mean this is a signature win for Kyle McCord. I'm going to guess this is not going to be the greatest win of his entire Ohio State career when all is said and done, but this is one that you want this one in your win column. You want this to be the national TV game. The lights are on. Everything, everyone is watching in a week filled with tons of great games. This is where game day came, and this was not, normally game day goes, if there's a question, game day will go to the ESPN game because the ESPN game is they're going to promote their own product. This is an NBC game, and they came here anyway. This was like the game this week in a loaded schedule. I can't wait to see the TV numbers on this because these are 2 of the biggest fan bases in the country. Plus, it's a great game that goes all the way down to the end. Like this could be one where, Kevin, I'm gonna throw out let's see, what did the Ohio State Michigan game get last year? 12 million, 14 million, something like that. Was it 16?
No, I think it wasn't like a 10 rating and it was like 12 million.
Yeah, 12 million or something like that. That is just bananas for a rating for a college football game. I think this is going to be in that neighborhood. I think this might even be higher than that because it's just all the factors coming together.
It just depends if the Penn State Iowa game ended soon enough for people to turn off that game and then come over to NBC for the close game.
I'm thinking about 17.14 million.
17.14 million for Michigan Ohio State last year. I'm going to say this is in the neighborhood of 15 million. Like this might be outside of Ohio State Michigan the most watched game on the schedule this year, and that's.
I wonder where it ranks in NBC's games. And the other thing, it didn't end too late, so it's not like you lost people because of how late it was.
No, and I will remind you that this question all started with Kyle McCord, and we got derailed with TV ratings. But
that's a couple of TV people here.
It is. How TV people are.
This was a Sam Hartman kind of game from Kyle McCord, and this is a game that people will now recognize who Kyle McCord is, rather than just knowing that he's not C.J. Stroud and he's Marvin Harrison's former high school classmate. Now it's true.
First I'm hearing of this.
It's on the internet, but now people know who Kyle McCord is rather than just the name. They know who the player is.
Yeah. And this is, not that the quarterback question was a question anymore after the first couple of weeks of the season, but now the quarterback question is really not a question at all. And
that final drive, as they're getting ready to go out, and Kyle McCord is warming up, and he's getting ready to head out into the field. Devin Brown stopped him.
Yeah.
And just, you've got this.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I had the same thought this week, or, tonight, that I had last year when C.J. Stroud, I think Ohio State was down at Penn State, like 8 minutes left, something like that. Like Penn State had just gone down and scored the go-ahead touchdown or something like that. And it was kind of like, all right, C.J. Stroud, let's see what you got. And he led them right down, and I think that was the one that ended with the Travion Henderson touchdown run. But it was the same thing tonight. It was, all right, Kyle McCord, 5-star, won the job. Let's see what you got.
Yep.
And
there you go.
And yeah,
there's your answer, Fishbowl.
There is your answer, Fishbowl. Son of Sarek, I still think McCord needs to run. He may have average speed, but he had numerous opportunities to gain a lot of chunk yardage.
Did he?
I look at him, and again, I'm down on the field,
Yeah.
so I'm just kind of looking at him and how far he's running. I judge based on how long it takes, because it's just kind of like I don't know. If he's running for 3 seconds, that's probably about 5 yards or whatever. I don't know, but he never seems to get. Here's the 3 rushes for 9 yards in the first half. There's Kyle McCord's stats: 9 for 16, 84 yards in the first half. 21 of 37, 240 yards total. But he never seems to be someone who gets more than you think. Like I have the clock in my head, and I'm going, okay, this is probably like 5 yards, and it's like 2.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, he got. Maybe this is partly deep drops, and so he's running further to get or something like that. But there are certain quarterbacks where it's just, or certain plays where it's like, oh, that was a much longer play than I thought it was. It's always like Kyle McCord it's 3rd and 8. Kyle McCord takes up the middle, and I'm like, oh, he probably what was it, 4th and 2? It's like, no, he got 2 yards. Like it's 4th and 7. Like what?
I will say he did take some time to get rid of the football quite a bit. Maybe the first half, second half, different parts of the game where he just held the ball too long, and I don't know if that's where it comes into where maybe you should take off at that point. I didn't really see a lot of open areas for him to run. I'll watch, I'll look for that on the rewatch, but I will say that just watching it, there were some times where he just felt like he held the ball too long, and then maybe guys weren't breaking open. There were also times where there were no players were open, and there was one time he threw one, and I think it got batted down, and it's like it was late in the game, and he was thrown to like the right hash, and that player was covered. I don't know where that throw was going, but it got batted down before it could get there. Else it probably would have been an interception.
Yeah. Lewis Lee, 10-14. Notre Dame used 2-back personnel the way I thought Ohio State would.
We didn't really see much 2-back personnel from Ohio State in this one.
No.
That was a departure because we've seen plenty of that. And really, the power stuff that they were doing didn't work with the Bison and things like that. I think it just congested too much. And this is not an offensive line and an offense that has been good with the congestion. And they're trying to fix that, but it's not quite fixed. Even though you win a game on the goal line, so something that's a positive, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah. Jason says Denzel Burke doing his best.
I think he means Jeff Okuda.
Oh, Jeff Okuda impersonation tonight. He wasn't heard from because he covered so great. He's been so good this year. Who's the first team that they play that has like a really, really good? I mean, like we said, Western Kentucky has a good passing attack, and they do, but it's not. You don't have Marvin Harrison on the other side. Who's the first team that they play that has that kind of a passing attack that's going to be okay, let's see Denzel Burke against.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Talia Tagovailoa coming up in 2 weeks, but I don't know that there's one guy.
Yeah, they don't have like that receiver.
No, and I don't know that there is that guy in the Big Ten on their schedule.
Yeah.
Is Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, is that when it's going to be? Or somebody emerge for Penn State that becomes the guy?
Yeah, maybe. Who's the kid they got from Kent State? Dante Cephas. He's good, but I have not watched a lot of Penn State. Basically, for the reason that if we didn't do a weekly Michigan show, I wouldn't be watching a lot of Michigan right now because Penn State has not played a lot of competitive football teams.
No.
So,
You guys want to hear from Knowles? We have like a minute of Knowles.
Yes, let's hear a little bit from Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles.
They had some long drives on you. It looked like they were wearing it down. What did you guys do on that drive? Yeah, well, we were having some problems against the run. Definitely have some things to work on, which is always good for me. But second half, I thought issues against the run. And last drive we just had to make some adjustments. We had to get some guys, more guys down in the box. It's just the way the game was going. But JT made a couple great. That's it. You need the guys that are going to make the big time plays.
But Jim, how surprised are you that they came out of
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised. You know, and they may have even had us when I watched the film. I got to look at it. We're such a run. You don't think they're going to throw in that situation. But JT was a guy.
So again, a very happy defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, as we said, came off the bus to talk about his defense and the way they were able to change the momentum of a game. And anytime your defense can do that, the coordinator has to be happy with that. And it's a message, as he told me, it was toughness that allowed it to happen. And this is a team that has been challenged in that regard all week. That was what we've been talking about leading up. That's obviously what Ryan Day talked about afterwards. Jim Knowles also talked about he likes seeing Ryan Day like that. That kind of, I think everybody wants to see their head coach that fired up.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
We all saw it.
Yeah. And, you want the boss to be happy, because if the boss is happy, then, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's kind of how a football team works too.
When the boss is happy, like a random half-day Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike says, I noticed Cody Simon playing in place of Chambers on the last Notre Dame drive. Was Chambers hurt? I don't think he was hurt. They were. I mean, Cody Simon played more tonight than I had seen him play. Really, well, he played in the first half too. I think he's just sort of earned a bigger role.
Well, Cody Simon was coming in at times for Davison Igbinosun because Notre Dame was going heavy. I missed that if he was coming in for Steele Chambers. I know I saw some people saying Steele Chambers is not having a very good game. It's another thing we'll have to go back and rewatch to see. But if he replaced Steele in there, and I don't, you're saying he did, that may have just been we need somebody to go make some plays, and because he was definitely out there with Steele at times, but you can't, you're not worried about anybody's feelings. You just need tackles.
Yeah, you got to win the game. Job one is to win the game, and there really is no job two in that kind of situation. What happened to Mayan Williams in this game? Did Mayan Williams play?
He got out there at one point. I think maybe in the power package, the Mastodon package, as Kevin called it, was Chip the fullback in? No, Caden Curry. He got out there, but
one carry, no yards.
Yeah, and as I've said before about Mayan, his role has been greatly reduced. But anytime I see him, he's got a huge smile on his face. He's supporting everybody. This is a guy that could probably be rushing for 1,000 yards many other places.
Yeah,
and it's not happening here. But he's, like I said, he's always doing whatever he can. He's as Urban Meyer would say, he's an energy giver, not an energy taker.
Yeah, and we're coming up on 3 hours right now. We're going to keep going as long as we could go forever. Obviously, we at some point are going to run out of computer battery, which will be the hard out of the show. So we'll try and wrap it before that. But if you guys have questions, please throw some more questions in there.
And thank you all for tuning in.
Do we? I'm going to send it down to my friend in South Florida. Do we have photos we can go through? Because there was boy howdy, were there some moments in this game?
Now, are these photos that count or photos that don't count?
Well, a little of each. We'll see if we can pull those up.
Yeah,
here we go. So yeah, this was that was at the end of the game after the touchdown by Chip Trainum. That's Jaden Ballard and Kyle McCord going up and jumping.
Can I say Jaden Ballard also another energy giver? Like he didn't play. We didn't really see him out there, but after the game, he's one of the happiest guys on the field as some of the Buckeyes are coming off the field. I forget who all was carrying the Ohio against the world flag, but I've got video of it. We'll eventually show it to you at some point in the next week.
This is the winning touchdown. You can see Chip Trainum on the ground there on the right-hand side. But, I mean, you look at that. That's Cade Stover, I think. Yeah, driving his guy into the back of the end zone.
I've heard he can't block, though.
Look at that. They've got – I guess it's less remarkable how they have the left side of the line sealed off. Because, wow, Tony, it's like there's not a Notre Dame guy there. Theories on why that might be? That was being that close to that play. It was just, as that play was setting up, it was like, man, this one play is going to determine a massive narrative swing about both of these teams, that Ohio State is often can't loses these games in exactly the same way every time, or Ohio State has shown its mettle, and it's like the difference there is 18 inches or whatever it is. That I think that kind of goes a little bit to show that, you know, the far ends of the spectrum are probably not good places to be living there. You know, this was an impressive win for Ohio State. It was a foot and a half from being an impressive win for Notre Dame. I mean, that was a really, really good football
Do you
game.
think Notre Dame puts an 11th guy out there if there were 11 commandments?
They have a statue on the next to the library called First Down Moses. I was over there today. I only counted 10. Still 10. Here's JT Tuimoloau. This was the sack on Sam Hartman. I think this was the play where it was like a read, and first he hit the running back, and Hartman pulled the ball, and then he hit Hartman. It was like when
it was Sam Hubbard. It was Joey Bosa.
Yeah, it was like Sam Hubbard tackling both guys. Sam Hubbard tackling both. Was that Trace McSorley? It was Trace McSorley and what's his name? Saquon Barkley. Yeah.
You know how we've been saying, like, you just need a Sam Hubbard or a Taekwon Lewis. That was a Sam Hubbard play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. This was Xavier Johnson picking up. That was just an absolutely massive play. And again, this is one that they didn't end up scoring on that drive, so it just gets completely forgotten. But at the time, it was like, this is an unbelievable, like, the play of the season, because he extended this drive when they absolutely desperately needed to score. And second year in a row, Xavier Johnson just you know, he doesn't put up massive numbers, but it's just he's like a pinch hitter. He comes off the bench, knocks one into the upper deck, and then
he's so effective against the Irish. You could call him the potato famine. Don't you groan? Anybody groan here? It's 2 a.m.
This is the last one. This is the last play of the game. I think this was after the ball had gotten back to Sam Hartman at the very end, and JT Tuimoloau, and I think that's Jack Sawyer behind him, taking Sam Hartman down. I think he tried to fling it forward again or something like that. But
do you think that kickoff was out of bounds on purpose?
I think the smart play there is to hit the guy in the face mask. Do you remember a couple of years ago, like was it Ball State or someone? You just kick a line drive and you try and hit the up man you kick it so hard that they can't catch it. Hit him in the chest. You don't have to hit him in the face mask, but hit him in the chest, and then the ball just drops, and then they don't have you can't set up a return. It just kick the ball directly into the person. That's what I was in. You know, I am not a professional kicker, so
it can't be hard.
Maybe that's not as easy. That's what I was sort of expecting them to do, and they kind of did that, but it sort of squeezed out of bounds.
To me, watching it is like that was like watching it happen. It's like that's the worst thing that could happen. I'm talking with our guy Andy Anders from 11 Warriors. Like, actually, now Notre Dame's going to get the ball to 35, and Ohio State can set up a defense. So there's definitely I would because it sure looked like he just kicked it almost directly out of bounds.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could kick it into, you know, can he kick it through the back of the end zone? If you can kick it through the back of the end zone, kick it through the back of the end zone, and then you got 15 more yards you got to get.
Well, he hasn't yet this season.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
but
true.
I don't know that they've tried, or maybe they haven't tried because it doesn't work that way for them.
My favorite part of Dave K says, my favorite part of the show, Tom's show and tell, his ego knows no bounds. He's so mean to Tony on the bold predictions.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody who's reached out to me, the emails, the direct messages, the Facebook messages, the letters, the edible arrangements. I appreciate it. I'm doing okay. I have a ton of support from my family, from my loved ones, from Kevin, from my friends. So it is okay. Like this is just 4 long months out of the year. There are 8 other months where I don't even think about him. So I'm doing okay. There's therapy. There's water therapy. It's tremendous. So I'm okay. Thank you for the concern. You are correct. Every single one of you has reached out and sent your thoughts, your prayers. You are all correct. But I am strong. I will remain strong. I will not falter. I will not waver. Thank you.
I am Tony. Hear me roar. That's the second best rant I've heard tonight. Jackie Hale says, "How does Kevin put up with these two?"
Well, drinking.
Well, he needs someone needs to carry him. Butch Jones says, "Potato famine." Butch, you are just encouraging Tony. Please do not do that.
Thank you, Butch.
That's like getting a gremlin wet. Just don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do
yes.
that. No.
But I do need to be fed after midnight.
Let's see. Going through. Yeah. Well, I was going to skip this one. He said, Butch says it's time to shut it down. Almost last call for alcohol. It is 1:49 a.m. here.
We've
in
only
South
been
Bend.
going, you and I and
Yeah.
Kevin, for like an hour and 50,
Yeah,
hour
yeah.
and 45.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep going a little. Well, we want to get through all these questions. And you guys are staying up with us. We want to stay up with you.
We won't be back here again until the Big Ten joins the Notre Dame joins the Big Ten next year. So
yeah,
it's 2 years from now.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out here. I made a decision before we even started. Normally we will record the morning show after this live show. So we're gonna go way long on this one. This is going to be a bonus episode on the morning show. You're going to get 2 hours of morning show.
It is the most accurate morning show you've ever done.
Is this the morning show for Monday now? Because it's tomorrow morning.
How many days until Maryland?
13 days till 13 days till Maryland.
Or is it 12?
No, 13 days till Maryland. And hang on, I can do this. Probably can't. Really help me out if you could do something. Make some conversation, Tony.
Tom, how many days until Michigan?
62 days until the Michigan game.
All right, that's pretty good.
Sorry. The game against Michigan. Diggs Buckeye says, "My 9-year-old son is still up with me watching this live show, praying his dad comes out on the mentions." Well, there you go. There we are, Tony, making dreams come true.
Thank you very much, Diggs Buckeyes, for watching the show and raising your child properly. That's the most important part. A fantastic game to watch with your kids, or anybody's kids.
I can only imagine the thoughts that were being expressed verbally at various times during that game in various living rooms.
Not always a great game to watch with your kids
around the state of Ohio. Holy Moses,
Yeah.
that was because I'm pretty unemotional about games other than like, wow, this is a really good game. And it was, even just the wow, this was a good game was like, this is a really good game. This is a really exciting game.
Yeah, down on the field afterwards, just, it was probably the best game I've seen since Michigan 2016. And they
played a pretty good one in Atlanta.
Well, and that was the other thing.
Yeah.
And then also the Clemson game in 2020 with
very
few people.
That wasn't as competitive.
No. But it was cathartic.
It was. That was very much. That Clemson game was, one of those, like, the fan base of Ohio State really needed this at this moment.
Yep.
Another loss here would have been,
especially to
bad.
Clemson.
Yeah, especially to Clemson, and then another loss, a loss tonight against this type of team. It just. If they had lost this game, how much are we hearing about, well, this just proves they won't beat Michigan this year, so this is already just, Tony, just forget it. They might as well cancel the rest of the season.
Down.
Shut it down.
Yeah, I can hear John Tapper. I can hear Gordon Ramsay. Shut it down. And you call showing up in the post-game room, shut it down, you donkey.
I was just going to say, I can just picture the difference between Chip Trayanum scoring and not scoring is the difference between, oh dear, oh precious, oh gorgeous, and you donkey.
You donkey.
Chip Jr. and Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, boy. A season saved. I think in terms of the fans' eyes, just imagine you wouldn't be watching this right now.
We get anger watches.
Different people would be watching right now.
Yeah.
You guys wouldn't be watching. Other people would be watching.
Michael Campbell would be on.
Yes. A lot of Notre Dame fans on the live stream.
Yeah. Butch Jones
tipping
says,
10 because they can't tip 11.
and you say I'm the mean one. Butch Jones says,
I don't say it. The people say it.
Folks, Butch Jones says, folks, let's drop a bunch of likes now. The fellows are going the extra light year for us. Light year measure of distance, not time.
Like a parsec.
Yeah. Thank you. Big Chevy says, I'm still trying to come down from the adrenaline rush. What a game. That was, the end of that game was one of the most intense sequences where it just was like, oh man, like, are they going to do this? Like, because it was, the drive started and it was like, they're either going to win this game or they're going to like turn it over on the first play.
Yeah.
Like it was going to be one of those two. And then they kept going down, but they weren't doing it the easy way. It was just, it felt like it was 3rd and 10 every other play. It's like, that's not even possible. How is it? That's not mathematically possible.
And earlier in the game, you get stuffed on 4th and goal at the 1. And to then have it come down to that at the other end of the game, it was an entire season in one game. It was 2 very different seasons in one game, 2 very different seasons in one fourth quarter. This is one that you will remember for a while, and it will take a while to come down. And it's very good that Ohio State has a bye week, that they don't have to worry about, hey, we're moving on from this. Let's forget this. It's like, I can't forget it. I'm still watching it on the indoor.
Yeah, that's going to be one that, I mean, go through other like great regular season games. Not, like, okay, I compared this to the 1997 Rose Bowl earlier. Yeah, it's like that, but that's the Rose Bowl. And that was number 2 versus number 4 or whatever it was. This is, I mean, for a regular season non-conference game, how many, I mean, like the Texas game in 2005 or the USC game in 2009, like those are the like truly classic ones. Buckeyes came up short on both of those. It has been, I'm struggling to think of a like really close, dramatic, late, final minute kind of game, non-conference regular season game that they've won,
because
they don't play that many. And
the 2006 Texas game, it was
24/7 or something.
It was comfortable enough that it wasn't necessarily any danger, and they were so much the skill that they had made that better. In terms of a conference game, that big comeback against Penn State in 2017, and then the next week they go to Iowa. That's why having a week off is a very good thing following a win like this.
Yeah, and I think it was funny. You look at the schedule before the season, and it's like that's too early to have a week off, because then you have to play the whole rest of the year. I'm now not remembering the exact order of the schedule. Who do they play the week after Penn State? Because after watching that,
is that Wisconsin?
That might be Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the 28th. Yes. So road trip to Wisconsin on the 28th. Right, Tony, ready? That's, I mean, Wisconsin's not fantastic right now. They very much look like a year one new system, but like the week after, if the Penn State game is anything like this, win or lose, that's going to be a tough.
Well,
that's never an easy place to win.
And that's a game where they are going to have to stop the run. Tanner Mordecai is I think a notch below Sam Hartman. So I would say the receivers probably a notch below or similar to what Notre Dame has. But that running game, although they did look like they lost Ches Malusi maybe for the year, he had a nasty injury.
I saw that. Yeah.
So that's too tough. But Braylon Allen obviously is still very good. But Tom, we'll get there. You don't need to be rushing us through on to Halloween.
All right. Super chat from Isaac McIntyre. Ryan Day's post-game passionate interviews are almost as passionate as Tony's rants about Tom and the bold prediction shows.
You know what? It's just
do you think Ryan Day appreciates getting lumped in with your nonsense?
Yeah, of course. Who wouldn't? Look, I've got enough nonsense for a lot of people. There's a lot of lumps, Tom.
Ultra. Mike Smith. When is the last time Ohio State won a game with basically the last play from scrimmage while being on offense?
Oh,
I'm gonna say Bobby Olive touchdown against Iowa in 1990, and I'm gonna make you
get
me one more recent than that.
basically the last play for anybody on offense, is what you're saying? I mean, this technically wasn't that.
And we know how you love your technicalities.
Because this was as much David Boston scoring against Arizona State in the Rose Bowl as you know.
Yeah.
But no, that's not counting a kick, play from scrimmage. That's a good research project.
But I can't think of when they've been on offense.
Yeah, that's a good question. Great question. Sorry, we don't have an answer. Although the Bobby Olive is like the first one that.
Yeah.
What about Purdue? That was tied it. Any overtime win.
Well, any overtime win.
A lot of times they've been on.
Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, Curtis Samuel. Yeah.
Thank you. What do I win? Tell me what I win, Charlie.
The Purdue 2012 wasn't the Hireman one? Was that the game? Yeah.
Chris Fields.
So I was thinking regulation, and then he didn't say regulation in here, but
yeah. No, that's a good question. We still need to find that one out. It may very well be Bobby Olive.
Be Bobby Olive. Yeah. we might have to move. Yeah, no, that guy's got like a.
I mean, they left that one. That one's over there.
Yeah, the other one's there. Fine. We're having a production meeting on air right now. We borrowed a recycling can to set my laptop on so we could actually see what's going on the screen and read the questions.
Hey, when you kick us out of the stadium an hour after the game, we have to improvise.
Yeah. Glasswing Butterfly says, "Good night, John Boy. Good night, Mary Ellen." Go Bucks.
Good morning.
Thank you, Glasswing Butterfly. We appreciate you joining us.
Always. I want to thank everybody for staying as late as you have. It's 2:00 here. I don't know what time it is in Ohio.
Uptown Daniel says, "Name the last Ohio State quarterback with that much poise to win in the last-minute game against a top 10 team." I mean,
CJ Stroud against Utah. I mean, that was the pinnacle of quarterback play at Ohio State. Some of those throws that he made, but and I think you mentioned one of CJ Stroud. Went down the field against Penn State, maybe, but this was a rarity. On the road here, with everything going against you, and to start out, it's like a guy who hits a home run on an 0-2 count. Like they were 0-2 a lot on this drive. And on that last drive, and they still just, fouled a couple off, and then, you get an extra base hit on 4th down, and boom, there you go.
You are mixing metaphors like crazy right now.
2:00 in the morning, man. That's what we do here.
Diggs Buckeye says, by the way, Buckeye Huddle live in California, so it's only about 11 p.m. here, so not that bad of a time for a 9-year-old to be awake still. No, listen, this is a judgment-free zone. It's a Saturday night. You don't have that many, games like this.
My apologies for relaying what time it is here and not thinking about how early it is there for you and your family. Thank you for watching as early as it is. No wonder your kids are still up.
This was a one to grow on kind of win, I think, for Ohio State, where you get the win, big narratively for you, but man, there's a lot to learn from in this. There's a lot to improve on from this. I still would love to see Ohio State run a quarterback sneak. Like that would be just an amazing.
You asked too much.
I mean, I know they're not that big into trick plays, but like you could do that on 3rd and 1 once, and it wouldn't kill anyone.
And if you don't, just go to the wild, mix in some Wildcats, start practicing that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're not willing to do it
with Caden Curry,
the absolute baller move would have been to leak Caden Curry out into the flat and throw it to him as just throw a look. And if it works, you're the smartest person on earth. And if it does not work, you're the dumbest person on earth who's throwing it to a defensive end in the red zone. It is a high risk, high reward play call. But Tony, I love to gamble with other people's chips as a former Ohio State coach.
It just depends on how effective it was in practice, and if you ran it all in practice.
Yeah,
we're trying to hold on for the Freeman post to come up, so we'll try.
A couple more minutes. Okay, so we are working on I'm going to use the technical TV term efforting. We are efforting the Marcus Freeman post game. That will be. It sounds like there's some interesting stuff to come out of that as well. And post game is real fun for us because we're generally all running around in 3 different directions, and no one has actually seen or heard everything. So it's kind of.
This has to be one of those games that we talk about. covering Ohio State when they lose games that they could have won 7 different ways, and they found a way each time to lose in those 7 different ways. This is one of those games for Notre Dame where they could have won it many different ways, and they didn't win it in any of them.
Yeah. That this is one that's going to sting for Notre Dame for a while, because this was you were about there. That this is not quite the Ohio State Georgia Peach Bowl where the ring is right there and you've got it and it slips from your grasp. It wasn't quite that, because it's regular season game and not you're about to get into the national championship game where you have a bye against TCU. So it's not quite the same, but I mean, just the probably somewhat encouraging in how well they played, how competitive they were with a team that they have not, Ohio State, most time, is this the first time they've been within 1 score of Ohio State since they won in 1936? I think it is, because it was 45-26 in 1995, 29-13 in 96. They won by 34-20 in the Fiesta Bowl in 2005. They won by double digits, I think, in the Fiesta Bowl in 15. They won by 11 last year. I think this is the first time Notre Dame's kept it within 1 score of Ohio State since 1936. So, I mean, in a way, yes, that's good. I'm guessing it's not a celebratory vibe inside the football facility right now, but this is we said earlier in the week, if Notre Dame was going to get over the hump against an Ohio State caliber team, this is the year they would do it, because you have a Sam Hartman, you have a veteran defense. It's the second year for Marcus Freeman.
Boom. Penny in the tip jar.
Second year for Marcus Freeman, and how often do you see the second year coach really take that big step and win a national championship, really, or being in that conversation? It was all there, and it just they played hard. They played I want to say they played well. There was there's stuff they didn't do well, but
I think holding Ohio State to 17 points is doing pretty well. I do think there are still some questions about Ohio State's ability to run the ball. Although if you give Travion Henderson enough opportunities, he will make those numbers look better with 1 home run.
Yep. And this is also 2 defenses that came into this game, ranked 1-2 in some advanced stats, and 3 and 4 in another one, and this looked like 2 teams that had top defenses. Those were 2 really good defenses. So, all right, so we are now good to go with Marcus Freeman, the Notre Dame head coach. There was some interesting stuff that we have sort of heard indirectly about here, but we're going to let you take a listen to Marcus.
For your one question, and we'll pass you the microphone. I'll hand it over to Coach.
Obviously, as I just told the team, disappointing. Had a lot of opportunities to win that game, and then we didn't. Credit to them for continue to battle back and be resilient when we went up, and we gotta finish that game, and tough loss. But as I told the group of guys, man, we got a good football team, and at times we showed it today versus a really good football team, and so. To be on the losing side, it hurts, it stinks, but we got to own it. We got to learn from it, and we got to get back to work on as coaches tomorrow and as a team on Monday, and use the pain of a loss to really help us find a way to get better. And as I told them, we're always reaching our full potential every Saturday, and there was at times today we didn't do that, and we got to figure out why and make sure that we attack it and don't let it happen, and so it's disappointing. It is, and we are disappointed, but we got to move forward. We have to move forward because we got to get ready for our good Duke team next week. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
We'll start second row on your left, Tyler James.
Marcus, on that 3rd and 19 play where they get down to the 1-yard line, what was the plan there? What went wrong that allowed them to get the first down?
Yeah, we wanted to play coverage, and we thought we were going to be able to kind of give them a different look and play some quarters, and he threw a good ball, man. He threw a really good ball. That last series, we're trying to kind of mix it up a little bit with a young quarterback and not just play man every play, and putting it in a tight window. and they made a play.
Was there an emphasis to try to tackle them short of the first down so they can't run another play, or was that I don't know if there was a
No, it was an
mark.
emphasis not to let them catch the ball and get a first down.
Thank you.
Down in front on your right, John Bryce.
Marcus, you just said a moment ago you got to use the pain of this loss and try to learn and benefit from it, but then you're also very much about one play, one live, live in the moment. So how do you balance that? How do you not let that pain linger?
Yeah, I mean, it's natural. It's a natural feeling that you're going to have. We're all disappointed, and at some point you got to get ready to move on to the next game. Obviously, it's not going to be tonight. You want to go and watch it and learn from it, and we use every game to make us better, but specifically this one, right? How do you find a way to make your team better through a difficult loss? And we'll do that. We'll do that. I know our coaches and our players will.
And then your last.
Tom, you can tell how devastating a loss is by the number of times a coach goes through their head like that and just you're trying to figure it out. And it's like the only way to figure it out is by putting your hand on your head. It's like, that is painful to watch. That is a guy who this is not going to be one that they get over at any point. That's why I guess you're not going to get over it. That's why you say we've got to use this. We've got to use this pain.
Yeah, and this is that had a chance to be his signature win as a head coach, and to miss it by that much in that way, and then next year Sam Hartman is gone. Next year, 10 out of your 11 starters are on defense are seniors or grad students. So I'm going to guess virtually all of them are gone. You are taking a step back probably next year. And with the transfer portal, you never know. But
Tyler Buckner.
Yeah, that's anytime you get an Alabama quarterback, good job. It felt like this was their chance. This was their moment. And to have it and then miss and then lose it that is rough. And this is a teachable moment for Marcus Freeman, I'm guessing, as well.
He'll have some good wins in his time. He's a very young head coach, and these are ones that they leave the scars that build the character and all of those good things that people like to say. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Cannot thank you all enough. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the regular chats. Just tuning in for as long as you have, for staying as long as you have. And hopefully we've been able to just allow you to come down a little bit while also raising you up, lifting you up as well. So thank you for tuning in, Tom.
I didn't tune in.
You've been here.
I have been here.
When did you get here?
Yeah, no, we do appreciate you guys sticking up with us. And we're obviously planning to continue doing these after all these games. We can't promise that every one of these games will be this exciting. We'll do our best to make the postgame as entertaining as possible. We have Kevin, obviously, behind the camera. We have Matt down in Florida making all the trains run on time and getting all the fun different stuff together, the graphics and the photos and all that stuff together for you. And then Garrett and Mark and Devin, who ably carried through the first hour or so as we were running around Notre Dame Stadium trying to figure out what the heck was going on and where things were and all that kind of stuff. So, but we obviously can't do this. We could do this without the viewers, Tony, but it would really be kind of pointless.
Yeah, this is basically just be our drive home. That's the show that we do without the viewers, and you should check that one out. But we do want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you so much. Again, find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Become a member. Say hello to us there. Continue to find us here at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle as well. Of course, podcast Buckeyes tomorrow morning. Tom Orr on all of your podcast platforms. Buckeye Weekly with Tom and I on all of your podcast platforms. Kevin Noon's Big Me Kickoff on all of your podcast platforms. Check all of those out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night. We'll talk to you guys later.